want me to still phone her?
Or any kind of evidence?
No, we are not hearing any helicopters at all. I did hear an ambulance earlier, but the ambulance did not come down here. We did have quite a few police officers when we first arrived at the entrance, but it seems like a few of them have pulled away. Our vantage point when we first got here was in a parking lot directly in front of that entrance, but the owner of that parking lot didn't want a lot of people standing there. But I did hear law enforcement, before I wrap up, I did hear law enforcement tell some of the parents that there is a staging area for parents at 475 Corporate Stage Drive. So I know that you mentioned that earlier, Megan, so I just wanted to reiterate that. For parents who are watching this right now and who may be worried about their child's safety, they can go to the staging area and hopefully get some answers there.
All right, thanks, Amber. I know you are actively gathering information, so we'll let you go, and we will check in with you as the morning goes on. Of course, we are praying. It's just heartbreaking to hear, especially that report of families showing up at school collapsing, wondering what's going on, hoping their children are okay.
Thank you, Amber. You know, your child goes to school and you feel like it's a safe space for them to learn, and to hear of something like this, it's a parent's worst nightmare. And as you said, we've started to see more of these incidents happen over time in several counties throughout our viewing area.
And Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, we all remember what happened just 4 years ago in 2021.
I had just started working here, and we were live on the air for 6 hours about that school shooting.
Yeah, there was a shooting. A child did not survive that situation. Again, this was Mount Tabor I'm talking about, separate from here, which is North Forsyth High School. But then 2 years later, a group of Winston-Salem Forsyth County students in 2023 was at Forsyth Tech when a gun went off. That college went on lockdown. There was a similar situation where for hours students were in a holding pattern. Nobody knew what had happened. Someone had gotten shot in the hand in the bathroom at Forsyth Tech. So 2 incidents, now 3, involving this school district in the last few years. Parents are uneasy. There have been conversations going on for years between the school system and the sheriff's office and the police department, school resource officers, trying to make sure students and staff are safe. There was the rollout of metal detectors. I remember we reported just last year several of the high schools got metal detectors. I'm still working to find out if metal detectors were in use today at North Forsyth High School.
And not just the metal detectors, the school buses. Remember, there was a walkout with the school bus drivers. Some of them, you know, did not feel necessarily safe with activity that was happening on the actual buses. So there were things that were put in place to make them feel safe and for students to feel safe on the bus. It looks like we're getting another live picture back at North Forsyth High School, where it is confirmed the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office has confirmed there was a stabbing at the school, and we're still working to find out certain details about the number of people involved and the extent of any injuries that may have happened. We see Winston-Salem Police and the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office on scene, flashing lights. We've seen several law enforcement members of law enforcement canvassing the parking lot area or near this front entrance of the school.
Yes, with regard to the safety situation we've been talking about, it is still unclear.
Welcome in. It is Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We want to get right out to our content partners over there at WFMY. This is in the High Point, Greensboro, Winston-Salem market. Right now, they are following some breaking news. Forsyth County Sheriff's Office confirming there was a stabbing at North Forsyth High School in Winston-Salem. Let's take a listen to a bit of their coverage. They've been on for a while now.
They are being asked to go to 475 Corporate Stage Drive.
All right, we're still scouring social media trying to see if there are any updates from the school district or from the school itself. The answer to that is no. The school did say about 45 minutes ago it would be releasing a statement. So if you are watching this and your child goes to that school and you've received some kind of a notification from the school district, please let us know. You can hop on one of our Facebook pages or email news@wfmy.com. We'd like to hear from you again to just help relay that information that everybody is okay and that students have some kind of a protocol they're following to get out of the building. It's still unclear whether there is a formal lockdown or shelter in place setup. We have not seen a large number of students appear to leave this building, and the campus right now is still surrounded by sheriff's deputies, by police officers. EMS is still on scene. Typically in large-scale emergency situations, we see highway patrol get involved too. It's an all hands on deck type of setup. So a stabbing confirmed by the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. It's unclear if the person stabbed was a student. It's unclear if the suspect is a student or is contained.
So we're getting another live picture of the scene. It looks like our crew is trying to stabilize their camera there, but it looked like what appeared to be some type of EMS or ambulance that drove by. That doesn't confirm that that was in relation to this situation, but I did want to point out that I saw an ambulance drive by in that live picture there.
Yeah, one of several school incidents involving this district over the last few years. We've heard Winston-Salem Police Chief William Penn and Forsyth County Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough Jr. implore parents time and again with the same message. Know what your kids are doing, know who they're hanging out with, and know when they're home at night. Again, it's unclear whether this incident involved one student or more students, but I just want to point that out there because there are these conversations happening. There is this dialogue and there is this focus on keeping our schools safe and making sure there are open lines of communication. We know high schools have school resource officers. Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools, high schools have metal detectors. This was a recent implementation. Last year we reported heavily on that, but it's unclear if those detectors were on.
And clearly all of this is a group effort. The community, teachers, schools, and law enforcement, all of that is needed to keep our students safe. I do want to go back out to Amber. We checked in with you maybe about 10 minutes ago. Any new details that you have been able to learn in the last few minutes?
We don't have any new details at this time, but we do have more and more parents that are coming out to this entrance of North Forsyth High School. I'm going to move so you can see we still have a lot of police presence here. Winston-Salem Police is out here. Forsyth County Sheriff's Office is out here, but we just have so many different parents that are coming out and they're standing at the entrance of this school. Like we said about 10 minutes ago, I mean, this is an emotional time. Though we don't know the ins and outs of this, right? This is an emotional time for so many people. Obviously, the Sheriff's Office confirmed that we have that stabbing happened here at North Forsyth High School. I was able to talk to a mom who said that she heard from her son earlier today, and he said he confirmed that stabbing, and she said that she immediately came out here. She tried to see if he was okay. Her son's okay, but there are multiple parents that have been collapsing to the ground, screaming, crying. I mean, it's very emotional out here, guys.
Have you seen, Amber, any school buses? It looked like there was a school bus leaving behind you. Have you seen any parents come to pick up their children? I know that they're being asked to go to a staging area at the corporate office for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, but have you seen any activity when it comes to buses?
So there, and I'm not really sure the setup here at North Forsyth High School, but there is a bus lot directly behind us, and we did see a couple buses pull out of there. Since we've been standing out here, we've seen law enforcement kind of ushering a couple cars that are non-law enforcement cars out of this area, so we aren't sure if those are teachers, if those are students. We're still trying to get the ins and outs of what exactly happened, but right now, it looks like they're letting somebody else either in or out of this entrance right now. They're letting someone in, actually. Yeah, I mean, honestly, because this is so fresh and because so many people are impacted by this situation. It's difficult to get more information right now because we still, I mean, I can imagine a lot of these parents that are standing over here. I'm gonna turn the camera over here. A lot of these parents that are standing over here are asking the same questions that you are. I mean, everyone is wondering what happened here today and when will we get those answers. So we're gonna stay out here and we're gonna try to talk to some of these people. Again, parents have been collapsing to the ground. They've been crying. I mean, it's a very, very upsetting time out here today.
We're going to keep our camera on a wide shot then. We want to give parents, you know, their privacy as they go through this. Amber, you mentioned you have talked with a couple of parents, one of whom believes her child knows a child involved in this. I want to be clear, we have not confirmed that a student was stabbed, but can you relay any of the information in your conversation with that parent? What did she say happened?
So this parent told me that she received a text message from her son today saying that there was a stabbing here at North Forsyth High School. She said that her son told her that he knew the person involved and he knows the extent of those injuries as well, which I'm not going to get into right now just because we really don't know. We don't have that confirmed with law enforcement, so I don't want to report inaccurate information. But she said that, you know, whenever she got that text message, she immediately came here because she said she woke up this morning and there was a delay because of weather. Obviously, there was black ice on the road, so her son was delayed coming to school. But she said she had a mother's intuition, which is kind of crazy to even think about. She had a mother's intuition and told her son, you know what, why don't you just stay home from school today? And she said her son decided that he wanted to go to school. He wanted to see his friends. He wanted to go to his classes, and then something like this happens. She said nothing like this should happen. You should be going to work, worrying about your children doing their homework, not worrying about something like this, some sort of incident like this happening. It's upsetting to think about.
Amber, the mother that you spoke to, you know, she said she had a mother's intuition for her son or child not to go to school. Has she talked about reoccurring violence or reoccurring chaos or anything of that nature happening at the school that would make her feel that way?
It seems like there's something.
I'm sorry, guys. I did
on.
hear your question, Lauren. We have a lot of people that are yelling behind us.
Amber,
I'm
we're
going
gonna
to step out of the way. I'll look at it in just a second. But to answer, oh, sorry,
No,
Megan.
go ahead. You go ahead.
To answer your question, Lauren, I mean, again, we have to get this confirmed with the school district when it comes to specific situations, but the mother said that she has heard of violent incidents happening here before. So she said that her son is very close to finishing the school year early this year, and she said she could not be more thankful because she does not want him going to school here. Again, we'll need to talk to the district to see what kind of incidents they've had, but that's just what she told me today.
Okay, we are going to let you assess what's going on there, Amber. Thank you for your fluid reporting and your respect to working to confirm the facts as we get them in. We know this is a sensitive situation, and we want to make sure that, you know, parents get the information they need first.
Yes, so about that staging area, let's go ahead and take that full screen again. We want to give you that address of where parents are being asked to go to. So the staging area is 475 Corporate Square Drive. That is 475 Corporate Square Drive. This is where the district and law enforcement are asking parents to go to if they do have a student that goes to North Forsyth High School. According to the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools website, this is the administrative center, also known as the central office. So again, parents, if you are watching, you are asked to go to 475 Corporate Square Drive.
Yeah, it is unclear when your student will be released to you. There are methods to these types of dismissals. We know the school district and law enforcement will have to work together to make sure every student and staff member is accounted for. But you can go to that area, gather with other parents, and then get information. We're going to work to continue getting your questions answered, and we'll check in with our live crews again in a moment. We do want to check in on our forecast because it has been bitterly cold today. In fact, the reason students were on a delayed start in Winston-Salem Forsyth was because of black ice. Claire, has that threat dissipated?
All right, so that is breaking news that we are continuing to follow there. Our content partners there at WFMY following a stabbing there at North Forsyth High School. Grew up about 20-30 minutes from North Forsyth High School, so it's pretty robust. community there as far as students, parents, community members, but again, they're following a report of the stabbing. Let me read you what we have so far and what WFMY has so far. So again, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office confirmed there was a stabbing at North Forsyth High School on Tuesday, which is today. EMS says units were called to the scene. Further information was not immediately available, and as you see there from that coverage, they're still really trying to sort out some things. You can hear parents and community members in the background. Appears to be yelling from what the reporter there on the scene was describing. Again, that investigation underway. So a lot of things that need to be sorted out in this incident.
Nick, I'm just pointing out in these live aerials that are coming to us right now, we do see an ambulance that is leaving the school.
Okay.
That's not to say that they are transporting anyone, but this is the first time that since our coverage began here on Live Impact News, we have seen an ambulance. The first responders up there at the school were kind of secluded from the ground shots that we were able to see from the reporters, who are certainly being kept at the end of the driveway. But these live drone aerials right now showing us the extent of the police presence, giving us eyes for the first time on at least one ambulance. We have been able to see a number of school buses that have been arriving at the school in anticipation of eventually getting these students back home. And you can see a lot of those buses lined up in the parking lot right now.
All right, again, we are continuing to follow this story. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, we continue to follow breaking news out of Winston-Salem, that's Forsyth County, that is in the Piedmont area, where a stabbing, according to the Sheriff's Office, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, confirming a stabbing at North Forsyth High School. EMS, we actually saw EMS vehicle leave, ambulance leave the school.
They may have pulled around front, maybe. I see another ambulance here right in front of the school.
But there is obviously police presence there. Let's go to our content partners there at WFMY. They are closely following the story. This is their coverage area. Let's take a listen in.
Arrive for the day. We know as of last year the district implemented metal detectors. It is unclear if those detectors were on given the delayed start. I don't know why they would not be, but we are asking those questions. We have not heard much from the school district. I've been scouring social media, seeing if there is an official update or a statement, which we were told we would be receiving from the school district, and that has not yet happened. Also working to learn what kind of messaging parents are receiving. There is a staging area set up for parents. We've been giving you that address, and we will give it to you again throughout our coverage today. That is where you need to go, not to the school. The school, as you've heard Amber describe, is a very active scene right now. There does not appear to be this sense of urgency as though law enforcement is looking for a suspect. No helicopters flying overhead. We don't see anyone running to and from the scene. So it appears, based on our observations, this situation looks contained. That was that staging area, that 475 Corporate Square Drive, which is the administrative building.
The administrative center, central office. Once again, we're still working to confirm a lot of information. What we can tell you is the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office is saying a stabbing happened at North Forsyth High School. We're still trying to figure out how many people were involved, who exactly was stabbed, the extent of the injuries, and working to find out if this happened inside of the building or outside of the building, because we have seen that large police presence and law enforcement presence outside of the building. Earlier in our live pictures, we did see some students that walked out of the school, and some of them even walked into the parking lot area where law enforcement was, but there wasn't this sense of urgency. Our reporter Amber Lake on scene did tell us that she did witness some parents that were collapsing, very emotional, out towards the front entrance of the school. But again, for any parents or family members that are watching, we are being told that parents are to go to 475 Corporate Square Drive. We are working to find out when you might be able to get in contact with your student or when your student may arrive, but this is where parents are being sent at this time. If we could go ahead and take another live picture at the scene. We do have our crew member Amber Lake there. We have learned that we have 2 more crews headed this way. We have a crew headed to the school, and we also have a crew heading to that staging center where parents are being asked to go to.
This brings back so many difficult memories for so many parents, current and former, of Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. Before this budget crisis that happened recently, there was a safety crisis at the district largely. There was an incident at Mount Tabor High School back in 2021. We remember it vividly. Yes. It happened around this time of day, and a student died in that situation. There was an incident a couple years later at Forsyth Tech, also around this time of day, when a group of Winston-Salem Forsyth County students was at Forsyth Tech when a gun went off. So there is a lot of emotion and a lot of demand for safety in schools in Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools. And that's not to say these conversations aren't happening, because they are. There's open dialogue with the sheriff's office and with the police department.
One of the things that the police chief for Winston-Salem Police, he has been saying on and on again, is parents, we need to know where our children are. Yep. And then they were even saying that in certain situations, parents would face consequences if their child were to get in any type of danger. So there have been these conversations of how can we work together as a community, work with the school system, and work with law enforcement to keep our students safe, because this is not what school is about. It's going to get your education, learn, do your homework, not get off the bus and something chaotic happen. It's, I mean, a parent, a family's worst nightmare.
I've had many conversations with Forsyth County Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough Jr., who is a father of 7 sons, and he has also taken on a mentorship role with many students in this community, working on accountability, respect, responsibility, being a well-rounded person. Again, it's unclear, unconfirmed at least, whether this situation involved one or multiple students involved, if the perpetrator is a student, and if that person is under arrest. There does not appear to be anything urgent from this vantage point to what we're seeing, and we have seen in the past situations where you see people running from the scene. You have helicopters overhead. We're not seeing any of that, which signals to me this might be contained.
We haven't really seen any type of road closures. We've seen even in our live picture here and during our talkbacks with Amber, cars going back and forth, and we saw that group of students walking out of the building casually, even into the parking lot where law enforcement was. It looked like they might have been answering some questions, but it does seem that this appears to be contained. Again, for anyone watching that's just now joining in, the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office has confirmed with us that there was a stabbing at North Forsyth High School. Right now, details are very, very limited. We're working to find out how many people were involved, if there were any injuries, and the extent of those injuries. But if you are a parent watching and and you're trying to get in contact with your child, you are being asked to go to the administrative center, and that is at 475 Corporate Square Drive. We'll continue to pop that address up on the screen throughout our report.
Yeah, and to me it looks like there is at least a shelter in place. We have not seen a large number of students leaving the building at this point. We know EMS is there. You could see police and sheriff's deputies are there. Typically in these situations, Highway Patrol gets on scene at least to work traffic. We saw that there were law enforcement vehicles blocking the main streets around the school. There were a few parents in that general area, or they could have been neighbors in this area, because that parent staging area, again, is not at the school. It is at that other administrative building we've referred you to already today. It is unclear, though, when your student, if you're watching this now on your mobile device as you're at that staging area, it is unclear if or when your student will.
All right, so we are continuing to follow this breaking news out of Winston-Salem, North Forsyth High School, where the sheriff's office there confirming there was a stabbing. So we are actually set to hear from a parent. Again, there's not a lot of information on what actually happened, what led up to this, but let's listen in. Do you hear anything, James, so far? Okay, let's listen in to this parent of a student there at North Forsyth High School.
You feel knowing that there's a lockdown, knowing that your daughter's safe, but that this happened. Okay. And considering that you have experience with neighbor as well, that's also really important. Okay. All right. I'm gonna take care of you. I promise. Okay. Can you all hear me?
All right, so it looks like they're getting ready for that interview. But in the meantime, just if you're not familiar with North Forsyth High School. So North Forsyth High School, again, is in the Winston-Salem Forsyth County school system. It's in Winston-Salem, and it is a magnet school program there, and enrolls and educates approximately, and this is according to the website, about 1,000 students per year from grades 9 through 12. Pretty robust when you're talking about community, their school community there. Grew up about 20 minutes, 30 minutes from North Forsyth High School. Again, a pretty robust school. So this is a map of where North Forsyth exactly is. So I grew up in High Point, so it's about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on which way you go, traffic, those sorts of things. But again, a stabbing there. Forsyth County Sheriff's Office confirmed there was a stabbing there at North Forsyth High School. EMS is there. We've seen them leave, but it looks like they went around to another entrance.
I think the
apparently.
good news is we haven't seen any ambulances leave quickly.
Yeah, that's I should know that.
Still kind of just standing by.
And one of the reporters on scene said she heard, parents yelling in the background. This is sort of where she was in her live shot. And obviously parents are frustrated, when it comes to their children. They're
waiting for information, just like the rest of us are.
Yeah. And they are, so right now there's a staging area for parents nearby the school. Again, we are waiting for more information. We've been checking the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office page. I've checked Winston-Salem Police. Also, the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School Systems Facebook page and social media accounts to get whatever updates that we can. We do know, again, an investigation continues, is underway. Again, there's a law enforcement presence there. All right, so again, we are waiting to hear from a parent of a student there. Let's take a listen in.
Who lives actually right across the street from North Forsyth High School. Everett, thank you for taking a couple minutes to speak with me. Your daughter goes here, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about your daughter.
My daughter attends here at North Forsyth. This morning I was dropping her off at school. Wasn't aware of what was going on when I dropped her off. By the time I got home, I got a text saying that the school was on lockdown, but the kids were okay, so they were handling the situation whatever was going on at the school.
I mean, it was practically as soon as you dropped her off that you got that text.
Yes, like literally she was walking in the building when I got the text.
I mean, what went through your mind when that text message first came through to you?
I thought it was a joke at first, not really knowing, like, okay, this is not true. It didn't look like any chaos that was going on when I dropped her off. But come to find out, they do have a situation going on at the school, so At the end of the day, as long as she's safe, I'm good.
So she's safe, but she's still on campus as of right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Have you heard anything about when you might be able to go pick her up and bring her home?
No, not yet.
Okay. I mean, what goes through your mind as a parent in a situation like this?
Having gone through the situation before at Mount Tabor a few years ago, my 2 older kids were there when that went down, so kind of a little worried, but the situation to be taken care of, so everything should be fine.
No. And I guess, what is your biggest hope right now going through all this?
Parents saying kids are safe, everybody get home safe at the end of the day.
Everett, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it. And so, Lindsay, what we can also tell you right now is that the police cars that were here earlier, Everett, you can step out of frame right here, thank you. The police cars that were actually out here earlier, some of them have actually just left, but they're still blocking this part of the driveway off. We've seen cars actually on both sides of the road here in both directions, lining up one after the other, some stopping slow to, as we've been saying for a good portion of the morning, to ask questions, wondering what's going on. Some of them actually seem to be bus drivers asking where they can go. I have overheard some of those conversations, and some of them, like this one right here in front of you, are actually going up. We don't know all the details there, but again, still a very heavy police presence here, and we'll continue to get you updates as we get them on air and online. But for now, along Shadowlawn Drive at North Forsyth High School, I'm Joshua Davis for WXII 12 News.
Again, as you heard there, man, a scary time for parents. So let's head over to our content partners at WFMY. Amber Lake, the reporter there on scene, is describing what's happening right now. Let's take a listen in.
And a lot of people have a lot of questions as to what happened here at North Forsyth High School today. You can see this gate here to the entrance of the high school is completely blocked off by law enforcement. Nobody is able to go in. They have let a few cars out, but most of the parents that are out here right now are on the other side of this road just waiting for answers.
So, Amber, is it confirmed that the school is still on a shelter in place or a lockdown setup? Do we know when these students might be dismissed to their parents at this to be determined waiting area?
We still don't know. I mean, the district hasn't told us one or the other. Like I said, we've seen some cars pulling out of here, but it's not a significant amount of cars like you would see if a school was released fully.
And in this news conference, Amber, you said this would be in the next half hour or the next hour where we'll be able to get some more concrete details and information.
Yes, the district said within the next hour or so we will be having a press conference to hopefully learn more information. I'm sure we'll be bringing it to you live as well on our WFMYnews2.com. But I mean, we have so many questions, right? But what we do have confirmed right now is that the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office said there was a stabbing. We've talked a couple different times over the last hour. I did speak with a parent who said that her son texted her this morning and confirmed that there was a stabbing on campus. He said that he knew the person that was involved. Obviously, we're waiting for law enforcement to confirm that, but I mean, these parents out here today, they're scared. They have a lot of questions. They are upset. We've seen so many parents just collapsing to the ground, crying, holding each other, and just embracing each other during this time.
Amber, we mentioned earlier some of the safety protocols in place in Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools since 2 other incidents happened in the last 5 years. Are you aware of whether there was an SRO on campus today or whether the metal detectors were in place?
I am not, but that will definitely be a question that we asked during that press conference. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, because the parent that I talked to earlier, that mom, she was very curious about the same thing. She said if the metal detectors were working, if they were able to catch something like this, a weapon of some sort, would this incident have happened? Probably not.
The parent that you spoke to, she told you that her child knew who all was involved, may have seen anything. Did they give you any information of what might have led up to this incident?
She did not. My conversation with her was very brief. She was very emotional. She was just happy that her son was okay. It is hitting really close to home for her because her son knew one of the people involved. Of course, again, and I want to reiterate, we do not have this confirmed with law enforcement. So even though I'm telling you what this mother told me, we do not have this information confirmed with law enforcement. But she said that her son, knew the person involved and knew the extent of those injuries. But again, I don't want to get into that right now until we have that situation confirmed as well.
So just for folks who are now tuning in, the nature of the situation we've confirmed is a stabbing. Is there an ongoing threat? We don't hear helicopters above you. We don't see anyone appearing to run from any sort of a threat that's presenting itself on campus. Does it appear to you that this is contained?
It does. We've been in situations, unfortunately, like this before where there has been an active threat, but it doesn't seem that way right now. Of course, I don't want to make assumptions just standing out here, but typically in situations where there is an active threat, we, the media, are ushered into a specific area, and there are a lot more law enforcement presence on scene, but it doesn't seem that way right now. Again, I don't want to make assumptions, but it seems like the law enforcement on scene right now are just kind of standing around and waiting. They're making sure that traffic is flowing through here smoothly, and they're allowing parents to, again, stand on the other side of the road and just wait for those answers to come.
We see a lot of law enforcement on scene, first responders. Have you seen an ambulance or EMS in the area maybe take off?
We did. So actually, right after I talked to you earlier, we saw an ambulance pull up, and then I can imagine it went to the other side of the school, but we did see the ambulance pull down the road on the other side of this road after the fact. So that's the extent of that. And we did hear sirens in the area, but we didn't see an active ambulance with lights and sirens coming down this road.
So seeing one ambulance would signify to me that this might not be a mass casualty situation. We've not heard from Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist. We've not heard from Novant Health that they're triaging a large number of people. So it appears at this point, we don't want to make assumptions, but this would suggest, based on the evidence and what we've seen, that this involved maybe one or two people and not multiple people, right? Is that what you're gathering?
It is, and based off of the families that are on scene and that were on scene over the past hour and a half, it seems like it's maybe one or two families that have been upset, significantly upset with this situation. But again, of course, hopefully when we go to that press conference within the next hour, we'll be able to learn more about that.
All right. Thank you, Amber. We know that you are working to gather information, so we'll let you go and we'll check in with you again in just a few minutes. So to recap here, students were on a delay today at North Forsyth High School. When they got to school on that delay, something happened. That something we have since confirmed through the sheriff's office was a stabbing. Working to answer your questions. Who was stabbed? How many students were stabbed? Is there a suspect in custody? Were both the suspect and the persons or people stabbed students at this school?
All right, so that is continuing coverage of that stabbing at North Forsyth High School in Winston-Salem. So we're expecting a press conference shortly there, according to our content partners there in the High Point, Greensboro, Winston-Salem area. So again, this is a live look at the scene. You see an ambulance slowly making its way through campus. Again, a lot of questions. We're still waiting to get more details from the school district, the sheriff's office there, also Winston-Salem Police. And as soon as we get that press conference, we'll take you there live, and we'll continue to monitor the situation here in Winston-Salem at North Forsyth High School. Again, the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office confirming there was a stabbing at North Forsyth High School. Again, a lot of questions, and we are continuing to get answers and look for answers there. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We are continuing to follow a stabbing at North Forsyth High School. Again, a lot of questions, I should say, surrounding what exactly happened. We do know the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office confirming to our content partners there at WFMY in the High Point, Greensboro, Winston-Salem area. There was a stabbing at North Forsyth High School. There is a staging area for parents right now as we await a press conference. And correct me if I'm wrong, James, within the next hour. That's to be safe, on the safe side.
That's right.
And so we're expected to hear from the school system, also the sheriff's office there. So we are continuing to keep our eye on this ever-evolving situation there at this high school, at North Forsyth High School in Winston-Salem. All right, so let's switch gears. Let's come back here at home. And so last night, Charlotte City Council addressed Friday's stabbing on the light rail. And this comes less than 4 months after the deadly stabbing of Irina Zarutska prompted increased security measures on public transportation. We heard from Mayor Vilas again, and we also heard from folks on the GOP side of things. But Julie Kay is here in studio. You're sorting all of this out because there is fallout with this latest stabbing. Again, we heard from Mayor Vilas last night, but Ben Thompson, our Ben Thompson, spoke with her today. You also have been speaking to plenty of people. Catch us up on what you got going on.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting dynamic right now of what do we do now. We've already implemented back in October new security measures for cats. That includes, of course, an increase in officers, increased fare evasion checks, different types of officers. You may have seen them on UTVs or bikes, things like that. So just an increase in presence overall, but I think the terms that a lot of council members and Mayor Vilas are coming to now is that's not enough. Clearly, stuff is still happening on our system. The fact that this is a very similar incident to what happened 4 months ago. Of course, the victim in this case is doing well and is recovering. So that is some good news here, but it really comes down to what do we do now? So for me, the biggest headline of today is that Mayor Vilas is saying we may have to close off these platforms. For those of you who use the light rail, I do quite often, you'll know you can just walk on without getting your ticket checked. Of course, in theory, you're supposed to get it checked when you're on there. You're supposed to buy a ticket every time in case you get checked. I know a lot of people who've never been checked on the light rail, though, even to this point. And so because you don't have to do it when you walk onto the platform, it leaves a lot of room for people to fall through the cracks. And so the idea of closing off that platform to prevent potentially, suspects like this who were previously banned from getting on in the first place could mitigate some of that. Now, our Jesse Pierre is looking into kind of that section of it, of how do you check if someone's banned, how did he get on, that kind of side of things. And so I don't have her updates on that end. But the fact that both Mayor Vilas and I spoke with Dimple Ajmira, Councilwoman Dimple Ajmira, who said something similar, that's a conversation we now need to have, not just with council, but also at the same time, the new transit authority is getting put into place, and they'll be in charge of a lot of those funds from the sales tax increase that just passed to make decisions like this, because that is going to cost a lot of money if that's the direction they decide to go, especially with us adding the red line potentially.
And you already have the sheriff's office saying, where's the money going to come from? Malcolm Graham, where's the money going to come from? So a lot of different sort of things coming out of this. I mean, even before this latest stabbing, I mean, just fallout from just 4 months ago with Irina Zarutska. I guess I should ask before we let you go, biggest takeaway from your interview with Dimple Ajmira?
Biggest takeaway is that she wants people to know that council is listening, and that is what I gathered from the brief time it was discussed last night. It was a short council meeting, kind of winding down for the holidays, and this was the first meeting with the new council as well, 3 new members. But she wants to make it very clear that they are paying attention, they are looking at other avenues. She doubled down on Mayor Lyle's request to get updated security information from CATS, so they're expecting that this week. She said she has a call later today with interim CEO of CATS, Brent Cagle, to talk about options going forward, but also those options being limited with just kind of a lack of funding. Both, you mentioned Sheriff McFadden talking about, we've got Irina's Law going out at the same time, which will require them to hold more people for longer, straining the resources on the already, tightly capacity jail. So we've got multiple things in Charlotte, Mecklenburg region that require an increase in funding potentially. At the same time as we have no state budget that would be able to help mitigate some of that. Not saying that, you know, Republicans in the legislature would decide to do that.
Right.
But if that funding is going to come from anywhere else, that's where it would be, and it's not happening at this point.
Yeah, a lot of things happening all point directly to the same sort of
Yeah.
thing. We do, Julie, before I let you go, when can we catch your story later today?
5 p.m. And we'll have some of the sound from
Okay.
Mayor Vi Lyles, but Ben, of course, is going to put together a piece separately from his interview.
And that is an exclusive interview with our Ben Thompson. Julie, thank you. We do have a statement from, as I mentioned, Mecklenburg GOP. Here's the statement they sent. That headline reads, Charlotte City Council chooses cover-up over public safety. Again, this, as it reads, this is not satire. At last night's meeting, the Charlotte City Council approved nearly $3.4 million for a public relations campaign to promote the city's light rail system, rather than addressing crime, rider security, or even using this money to help fund the Sheriff's Department to implement Arena's Law, also House Bill 307. The City Council is choosing propaganda over real solutions. Charlotte City Council wants to cover up the truth and tell residents to sit down and be quiet about safety concerns. Let us be clear, public safety in Charlotte is not a messaging problem, it's a leadership problem. And it goes on to say, in Liberty, Kyle Kirby, Chairman, Mecklenburg County Republican Party. Again, that is the statement that we got. We got it this morning, I believe, James, right?
We got it in a short time ago.
Okay.
We are efforting an interview with them here on Live Impact News. And I'll also just mention, Nick, as they alluded to in the statement there, the funding for Arena's Law. We had the Mecklenburg County Sheriff right here in the Impact News studio this morning saying something very similar, which was that the law is what it is, but he is asking for more staffing and more funding in order to implement the changes that come with that law.
Yeah, so again, a lot of fallout from all of this, and it really kind of points back to the same thing. All right, again, we are efforting an interview with Mecklenburg County GOP, and we are, again, continue to follow this story as it continues to evolve. So make sure you stick with us here on WCNC Plus. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. It is cold outside, James. You're a New Yorker, James, but you've been here in the South for a while. Is this Was this?
This is cold.
Okay,
This
all
is
right.
cold.
I got to
It's-
check in with New Yorkers and folks from the north.
I'm your reality check?
Yeah, I am.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
you are. It was freezing. I just want to give a shout out to the folks there at the United Way, Gaston County. I helped with small part, but it's become an annual tradition. Giving out supplies to seniors there for their senior Christmas wishes program. I bring that up because we were outside a lot and it was really cold, but they are doing a ton of great work out there in the frigid temperatures outside. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. But again, James, it is cold.
And the sun is back, though.
The sun is back.
That is the best
The sun
part.
is back. The sun is back. Folks, there was some black ice this morning in certain parts of our area. Let's check in on our full forecast. Here's our full forecast.
Well, good Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist. Majestic storm. It has been a cold, cold morning. We woke up to temperatures mainly into the 20s, and really we're having a hard time warming up, and we're expected that we're not going to warm up a whole lot today. Better conditions though as soon as tomorrow. It was very slick and icy this morning up in the mountains. We were weather alert this morning. We no longer are. However, still watch for those icy spots, especially on those back roads. If you live in a mountain county, you can see lots of people out there at Beach Mountain enjoying a snow day there, and again still holding on to pockets of fog. So if you are traveling today, especially up towards the high country, and you notice your temperatures are right around freezing, I would suggest just slowing it down, because oftentimes that fog can actually freeze onto those surfaces. Downtown Monroe not looking bad today. I love your Christmas tree, looking quite festive. Again, temperatures today struggling, only rising into the 40s, low 40s. A cold day ahead, but I think we could have some small sun breaks here and there. We're struggling though with mainly overcast skies. We've been dealing with pockets of fog as well. 42 degrees yesterday. Today we're forecasting only 40 degrees here in Charlotte. Now, it's going to be even colder in the mountains, all right? 30 degrees for your high temperature in Blowing Rock. So everything is just really frozen over. If you didn't shovel the snow yesterday off of your sidewalk or your stairs or even your driveway, well, you're probably seeing kind of an ice skating rink now with very crunchy snow out there as well. 39 degrees there in Morganton, 37 for your high today in Lenoir and Hickory. Maiden checking in at 38 this afternoon. Low 40s from Charlotte to Shelby, even through Lincolnton, with upper 30-degree temperatures in Statesville, and then 41 degrees today in Lancaster with mainly cloudy but dry conditions. Overnight lows tonight drop down again, below freezing for many of us, around those mid-20s in Boone, 31 in Charlotte. So perhaps if you're up in the mountains and you actually do get little sunshine breaking through here and there, and you notice that snow and ice is melting, that means refreeze overnight and into tomorrow morning is likely. So another slick and icy start to our Wednesday morning. However, Wednesday, it's going to be nice, 54 degrees. We'll take that over those low 40s that we're going to get today. More sunshine on Thursday and Friday, and wait until you see the temperature on Saturday. Satellite and radar today not looking bad. Again, holding on to quite a bit of cloud coverage through most of the day today. Here's 3 o'clock. We're not looking at any more moisture though as we're heading into the rest of our work week, really. And then Tuesday, actually Wednesday, as we're heading into Wednesday morning, that's when we start out the day with really beautiful conditions, sunny skies, but it will be rather cold for the first half of our day. Let's break down those temperatures. Our 10-day forecast, 40 degrees for our high today, so bundle on up. 54 though for our high tomorrow, with low 50s continuing through Friday. 60 degrees on Saturday. Do you have plans on Saturday? That'd be a good day to get outside. Maybe you want to pack up the family and head out to go look at some Christmas lights. It's going to be fine as we're heading into the overnight hours though next week. Monday is going to be cold. Really waking up early on Monday. 19 degrees is what we're forecasting, and that's before you even factor in the wind. Not seeing any rain throughout the rest of our work week, or really not much over the weekend. There's that Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. 50s as we're wrapping up our work week. We'll enjoy that 60-degree day on Saturday with much colder air arriving by Monday.
Oh, it's just like kind of a roller coaster of temperatures. 60 on Saturday as a high. Ooh. All right, again, but for now, it is really cold outside. Check this out. James, that's ice, right?
Yep. This is a look at our WCNC tower camera. We're normally showing you the skyline or some other view, but we've actually turned it back towards the tower in which it's mounted on. It's in Dallas, North Carolina, which is in Gaston County. Chief Meteorologist Brad Penovich tells me this is called rim ice, Nick. So we actually have ice that has accumulated on our tower about 1,500 feet above the ground because we were at below freezing temperatures during the overnight hours. So all the moisture that was in the air, the dew and the condensation that normally sticks to things like metal or the ground, stuck to our tower and froze during the overnight hours. And in the last few minutes, we're beginning to watch it melt as temperatures have now climbed above freezing, which is delightful because as we take another live look back outside, there's no ice down here at the surface at this hour of the day, so that is good news.
It's shaping up to be a beautiful day. I know, a cold day, but this is a great view of Uptown. We haven't seen the sun as much as we need to.
I really miss the sun.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that it's back.
Yeah, it's back and it's out, and today looks beautiful. But we are not the only area dealing with some cold temperatures across the nation. There's kind of the same sort of thing where I believe Southwest it is a lot warmer, but back towards the East Coast it is frigid. Let's check in with our friends at NBC on those temperatures.
Tonight, a surge of Arctic air blasting across the mid-Atlantic. A series of storms dropping rain and snow. In Waukesha, Wisconsin, I-94 shut down for hours after an SUV rear-ended a snowplow driver. In Milwaukee, a highway crash during the morning commute left this SUV close to going over the wall. No injuries were reported in either incident. The icy wet mess closing schools. Virginia slammed with up to 5 inches in parts of the state.
It's coming down pretty hard. All the schools are closed.
Winter alerts in effect for 11 million people from Montana to Michigan. Parts of Tennessee saw up to 2 inches of snow. Here in Chicago, temperatures below freezing today.
We've gotten lucky the last few years, so it was definitely something that was bound to happen.
In Colorado, nearly 70 avalanches have been reported since Friday.
We're still seeing a lot of the state, especially that central and northern mountains, sitting at considerable avalanche danger.
And in the Pacific Northwest, heavy rainfall turning deadly after a woman was killed over the weekend in Washington state when a tree fell on her car. The wintry mix causing a mess at some airports, grounding planes and delaying flights, turning the gridiron into a field of snow this weekend.
We are going to get a lot of snow this year. I can feel it.
Back in Chicago, the bitter blast could be a sign of the season ahead.
So we better get used to it.
Like she said, in some parts of the country, we're going to have to get used to this cold weather. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Okay, it's F.
Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We want to continue to keep you up to date on breaking news out of Forsyth County, Winston-Salem area. A stabbing at North Forsyth High School. I believe our content partners there at WFMY reporting, from what I'm seeing, there's no threat to the community. James, I know you've been monitoring this.
Yes,
so that's what the sheriff's office is saying, and that's what our content partners there at WFMY, that's what they're reporting. Again, still a lot of questions surrounding what exactly happened. We're expecting a news conference in about 30 minutes or so, give or take, where we will have some sort of update on what happened here. But a lot of parents are concerned about what happened. Obviously, there's a staging area nearby the school for parents. Law enforcement presence is still heavy. We have noticed an ambulance or two roaming around campus. Doesn't seem to be roaming around in an urgent way.
Right.
Just want to make that of note. But again, a news conference on what happened at North Forsyth High School in Winston-Salem in just about 30 minutes. It looks like
there's that ambulance there that we just mentioned. It's parked in front of the school, a couple school buses standing by for dismissal, presumably. But again, as you mentioned, Nick, we should be getting some answers to some questions at 2 o'clock. We'll carry that right here on Live Impact News.
Yeah. All right, so let's come back here at home. So we are following a story of a missing woman. We heard from family. We heard from a friend. This is in Charlotte. Autumn Bracey is here in studio. You're following the story. You spoke with the young lady's family and friend. Catch us up on who she is and what exactly the family and friend had to say.
Yeah, Nick. Well, as you mentioned, 31-year-old Frey J. Baker is missing. She is a Charlotte resident, born and raised here. Today, I got a chance to speak with her brother and one of her close friends. As you can imagine, it's a very heartbreaking experience for someone you know and love to be missing. They say it's not like her to not answer her phone for days and days, and so that's how they know that she is missing. Now, the family on Saturday, they officially filed an incident report as she is declared her as a missing person, but they did highlight to me that it's kind of concerning that obviously it's still very early on, but CMPD has not been very communicative as far as updates on search efforts for her, helping with that process to find her as quickly as possible. So they said they've kind of taken it within their own hands to kind of going to some of the places she frequents to see maybe if they can find any clues, of course, reaching out to the community, using them to bring her home safely. They tell me that she was last seen with an associate of hers, a man. Of course, I'm not going to share his name because we don't obviously know if he's the reason that she disappeared. But they say that he's not being very cooperative, I guess, in this process of even helping them look for her. So they tell me that's concerning. But they were able to share some local Charlotte spots that she was last seen from just people in the community reaching out saying, hey, we saw her here on Thursday. Some of those locations were the Cookout on Sugar Creek Road and Quick and Easy on LaSalle Street. But basically the family is just urging, if you have any information, to reach out to CMPD. They are hoping to find her as quickly as possible. They say, again, it's not like her to not talk to her family, her friends, and she's a mother as well. She's a 2-year-old son, so that makes the incident even more troubling. And so tonight at 5 and 6, we'll be sharing more. You'll be able to hear reaction from her brother and her friend.
I know you said there were concerns about the associate. Were there any concerns regarding her health, mental health, prior?
They weren't able to share anything along those lines. They just said they do feel like it's, the person she was with, they're not sure about him. So,
yeah, hopefully we get some answers from CMPD on this one. Again, we'll hear from, as you mentioned, her brother and friend later on. Autumn, thank you for that report. We'll check in with you later. Let's go back now to our content partners in Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point area. WFMY, they're continuing to follow the stabbing at North Forsyth High School. Let's take a listen in.
and they're being bussed out of this high school area. We haven't seen any buses come by, and we haven't had that confirmed with the district yet, but that is what our Christina Dillon was able to find out from some of the parents who are standing on the other side of the street right now. Like we've been seeing cars driving out of this entrance. We've been seeing law enforcement still on scene. Obviously, we have some law enforcement that are directing traffic right now. We have parents that are continuing to stay on the other side of the street. It's just kind of a wait and see game right now.
Amber, I have a question for you. At one point, we saw like half a dozen law enforcement officers kind of congregating towards the gate. Have you seen them canvassing other parts of the school, maybe looking for evidence, like placing evidence markers anywhere?
You know, we really haven't. I mean, they've just been kind of staying right here in this area at the entrance of the school. I mean, when we first got here, there obviously were a lot more law enforcement, a lot more parents, people. It was just kind of chaos, right? People were kind of running around, screaming, yelling, crying. There was a lot going on, but it seems like it has kind of settled a little bit. And, you know, police officers have been pulling out of this area as well.
So, Amber, this school was on a 2-hour delay today. The district as a whole was on a 2-hour delay because of the threat of black ice. Do we know how soon after students arrived this situation happened?
We do not, but I will say that we got the call from a viewer that this situation had happened around 11 o'clock, 11:15, and then we arrived here at noon. So if that tells you anything, I mean, you said it yourself, it was a couple-hour delay, and then we're told about this around 11:15, so.
Yeah, so, and we previously reported that last year the district decided to start implementing metal detectors. We saw a demonstration of that over at Glenn High School. Safety has long been a conversation. Have parents talked to you about whether they've felt any specific safety concerns at this school over the last year?
So a mom that I talked to about 2 hours ago, she said that she is not surprised by the situation that happened here today. She said that she is hoping that her son is able to graduate early so he can get out of this school as quick as possible. Obviously, we're going to need to talk to the district to see what kind of incidents they've had. But she said that whenever her son texted her and told her about the stabbing here today, she said she wasn't surprised, but she was scared. She said that if metal detectors were used today, why wouldn't it have caught a weapon if whatever type of weapon was used in the stabbing, you know?
As far as parents go, I know earlier you were talking about the emotion in the air. You saw parents collapsing. Do you still see some of those same individuals across the street? Have more parents come and gone? What is the energy like now? You've been there for about an hour and a half now.
That initial family that collapsed to the ground, it seems like they have left this area. I'm telling you guys, I mean, we could cover some pretty tough, difficult stories, right? But seeing this, what looked like it was two women. They just started hollering and screaming and collapsing to their knees, and random parents who didn't even know them were running up and embracing them and hugging them on the ground. It was a sight to see, I'm telling you. And I mean, it seems like all of the media outlets kind of shed a tear as well, because you could just feel the pain that these women were feeling. Though that family seems to have left this area, but there are some other families that are still here. I was told earlier by a bystander that another family who may have had somebody involved is staying on scene as well. They're not wanting to talk to media right now for obvious reasons, because this is an emotional time, but you know, some families are sticking around because they just want answers.
You know, Amber, I really feel every word you said, because all of us as parents send our kids out the door every morning praying they will get to and from school safely, that they can learn and enjoy and have fun at school and not be affected by violence. This is absolutely devastating. Just last year, a situation outside Carver High School, also one that happened about 10 years ago. I remember reporting on that from the scene. We had Mount Tabor in 2021. We had Forsyth Tech. You covered, I believe, the Forsyth Tech situation where there were students from Winston-Salem, Forsyth County schools there that day. Can you compare and contrast the response between that, although I know that
And that is continuous coverage there from our content partners there at WFMY News 2 on a deadly, not deadly, let me not say that, on a stabbing there at North Forsyth High School in Winston-Salem. Again, a stabbing there. Again, we don't know anything outside of that, but a stabbing at North Forsyth High School in Winston-Salem. This is an aerial look at the campus. News conference expected at 2 p.m. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. All right, so today, Sheriff Gary McFadden, Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden, was here in studio, spoke one-on-one with Jane Monreal about arenas law, immigration enforcement, and transit safety. A lot of those things that he hit on during a press conference, but it was an opportunity today to ask him further questions about it, really go in depth on those issues that he's been very outspoken about. Let's take you now to that interview, that full interview with Jane and Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden.
This morning, Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden is in the Live Impact studio for a conversation that really comes at a critical time for our community. Just last night, we reported that some of the concerns now 1 week into Irina's law, there's an 18% jump in jail population, strained resources, a detention center struggling to keep up, and add to that the conclusion of Operation Charlotte's Web. We have the ongoing federal immigration operation enforcement and the recent tragic loss of one of his officers. Sheriff McFadden joining us here this morning. He's been candid about some of these challenges, and today we're going to dig right into it. Sheriff, thank you for making the time.
Thank you all for having me.
It has been 1 week since Irina's law took effect. Last night, again, we reported the 18% increase in jail population compared to around this time last year. What's happening inside the facility right now?
Well, we're preparing for the holiday season. Most people know that the numbers do go up during the holiday season, but they also go up just because there's a lot of mental stress. And what we mean, people are stressed out. Wives and husbands are filing for evictions and divorce and everything else, and that causes a lot of controversial issues in the home. Domestic violence goes up. Believe it or not, December 1st, we, the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office, evicted 198 people from their homes. And so all of that comes into contrast to what happens inside a detention center. And all these people come in. And so when the people do come in, there are poverty-stricken, homeless, and with a lot of anxiety. So a lot of stress goes inside the detention center when people are arrested. And we don't think about that. We just think about the violent criminals, which also brings another avenue to us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, there are so many things tied to this, right? Mental health, last Friday's stabbing, the second in less than 4 months since Irina Zarutska lost her life. So when we talk about mental health, let's just go there for a minute, because your mental health director did note that some residents won't engage with treatment, even though that is clearly something they need and something that is out there. It is a resource, isn't it?
It is. You have to say that, a lot of the regular person, will a husband talk about what he went through as a child? No. Well, the wife would talk to the husband about what she went through as a child. And so they're not open for those conversations. So when they're coming into the detention center in the middle of a crisis, because the crisis is their criminal charges, then you want to talk to them about their mental state. They may be reluctant to do that, and then all of a sudden they get inside of the pod or the housing unit, and they become immersed inside to that world, and then they won't talk about their mental status. So it's very hard to make people open up and let's talk about their mental capacity and their mental problems. So that is a battle in itself. But the ones that we do take care of, we're happy to take care of them.
Overcrowding an issue, and you said that or your major did say that it reduces efficiencies, raises the risks of incidents. What kind of danger are we talking to staff, to residents in the community?
Well, I think people do not realize what we have to work with each and every day. There's probably 1,600 people inside a detention center at this time today. Think about this. So that is 1,600 people who have been charged with violent crimes and behaviors. So 1,600 people being housed in one building. That is like taking the Marriott downtown and put everybody in who's homeless. And then how do you combat that? So inside our detention center, there are 1,600 people that have allegedly committed a crime, and we have to deal with them. And most of those are violent criminals, and so, or alleged violent criminals, and so we have to tackle that mentally. So our staff will be mentally stressed because now we're going to be inundated with all the people that are not released because of the new law 307, that we're now going to house them and take on that aspect of mental health. So when you're talking about danger, imagine that.
Let's talk about House Bill 307. You've been quite vocal about it. And what do you believe what are the challenges that House Bill 307? Let's start there. I know you've said it before, but just to get people caught up.
The main challenges is funding. Imagine creating something that you have to work with, or you are mandated to do, and they created this bill with no funding. When we say resources is a very loose terminology that most people use. But what about having staff, having the resources to hire more staff to deal with the people with the mental challenges? My staff is probably better than most of the staffs across the state, and here's why. In 2019, we created the first behavioral health pod inside a detention center in the state of North Carolina in 2019. In 2020, we again created another pod just for women. So we had a pod for men and we had a pod for women. 2022, we created what they call the RISE program, restoring individually, safely, and effectively back to society. And what does that mean? People are inside our detention center are waiting to go to trial, but what they call incapable to proceed, ITP, incapable to proceed. What does that mean? That they cannot assist their lawyer in their trials. So we're restoring these individuals back. That was in 2022. Fast forward, 2025, the state of North Carolina, Department of Human Health and Resources, came to us and says, Sheriff McFadden, since you have done so well, can you help us a little bit more? So we divided the state into 3 parts. I am what they call the Western District. So 36 other sheriff's offices can send people to me, the Mecklenburg County Detention Center, to be treated for mental health issues. 36 other counties. It's only 100 counties in North Carolina. On my way to this interview today, I spoke to my legal staff. Another county outside of that 36 would like for me to be able to receive their people from their detention center. So now that burden is on us, and think about this. That is being paid for, but the additional people are not.
The Post-Release Resource Center, is that what we're talking about?
No, the Post-Release Center is a whole different animal that we have. The Post-Release Center is for people who are re-entering society and needing help that they normally do not get. So when we found that gap in our system, we created the Post-Release Center, and that's helpful. The RISE program is separate from that.
Okay, and the RISE program is funded?
The RISE program is funded by the state of North Carolina, yes.
All right, so when we talk about resources and lack of resources, what does that mean to you? What do you need? What is the dollar amount?
Dollar amount I couldn't tell you, but staffing, I would say staffing, and we look at housing people at $198 a day. So you think about that. On top of that, and fast forward and kind of mix this up a little. So imagine the immigration issue that we're talking about. We now, because of House Bill 318, we now have to, again, hold people 48 hours longer than they were supposed to be. What do we mean by that? After they have met all the conditions of their release, now we hold them an additional 48 hours for ICE to come and pick them up. That additional 48 hours is costing the taxpayers of Mecklenburg County $398 per stay. That is not funded. Another House bill that was mandated by the lawmakers in Raleigh, that is not funded.
When it comes to House Bill 318, you turn them over, like you said, 2 days, 48 hours. Does this also conflict, or how do you reconcile with you trying to build relationships with the immigrant community?
Well, we're doing a great job building the relationships no matter what they're doing, because we've always built a great relationship and had many conversations with the Latino community during the crisis, after the crisis, and even as of today. So we're still going to build that bridge, and we're confident that we're going to keep, our relationship with them. But when you have what we call the word salad, and that's my new word, the word salad, that you mix the words up and make people believe that you can't do this or the sheriff is not doing that. For instance, they're saying, well, with the person with the new light rail stabbing, we don't know if the sheriff is going to hold him. Well, that's incorrect, because House Bill 318 mandates me to hold that person, to also include North Carolina General Statute 162.62, which mandates every sheriff in North Carolina to cooperate with ICE. So when we have these word games, it confuses the public, and that brings a lot of anxiety and mistrust also in the community.
All right, so let's clear it up. You actually say that you are obeying everything that you need to, mandated by ICE and the federal government, right?
Absolutely. I can tell you this. You will never hear a lawmaker or any lawmakers or ICE or DHS says this: Sheriff McFadden is not following the law. They will use the word cooperation because they want me to do something that is not is outside of the law. If a federal judge or a magistrate or a state judicial official has not signed a paper, then it is not legally my book. And then he could do this, he could do that, but what they use is the word cooperation. We're looking for the same cooperation that we never get. And so where's that? We don't talk about the cooperation that we're not getting, but we are following the law. You will never hear, the question should be this: is Sheriff McFadden following the law? And stick with that question. Is he following the law?
Irina's Law, 1 week in. You said at yesterday's conference, lawmakers in Raleigh didn't communicate with your office before putting this law into place. That's a pretty significant oversight. What did you need to know in order for this to be implemented?
It's not much we need to know. We just want to have a seat at the table. Have a seat at the table, have your voice heard, and they may find something that they didn't think about. The same thing with the House bills. When House Bill 10 was created, it's not that I found a loophole, I found a misstep. And so then after that misstep, they created House Bill 318. The same thing with Irina's Law. You're always saying is, please come and talk to us, get our opinion, get our facts. And you know, they will always use a good person, Mr. Eddie Caldwell, great guy, our executive director for North Carolina Sheriff Association. Have no problem with him. But the problem is, that is their fall guy. You know, they said, well, we talked to Eddie Caldwell. Well, I think that you need to talk to the sheriffs who are actually housing these people and who are in these counties. Surely, talk to Mr. Eddie Caldwell, have him at the table, but have your largest county sheriffs at the table also. Every major city, every major county in North Carolina should have been at that table, because these are the counties that are going to be mostly affected. Sure, they can say, well, we talked to the other counties, they don't have any problems. Well, if your housing is only 200 to 500, then you really don't have a problem. Mine is a 2,000 to 3,000 facility, and we have 1.2 million citizens. That is a significant change in some of these smaller counties. So sure, they may not have the problem. Well, ICE didn't go to their counties either and raid their counties. They came to Mecklenburg, Wake, and Durham.
When you turn someone over to ICE, do you know what happens to them? And do you see them back in the detention center?
We do not, and that is another problem that we are having currently. So as of the law stands now, House Bill 318, ICE can take custody of these individuals within the 48-hour period. Now think about this. They are taking people out of state custody with state charges pending. And so what happened to those state charges that are pending? Well, they can be dismissed by the district attorney's office, or this could happen also, which I have many cases to show. When they take this person out of our state custody with the 48-hour, after the 48-hour hold, under House Bill 318, they take them into custody and they probably will deport them. Well, did they talk to the district attorney's office? Did they talk to the judge? Did they come inside? No. And what happens is, when that person is called for court that day, that person is not present in court. What happens? The judge at that time issues an order for their arrest. So imagine, you inside a detention center on charges, say assault on a female. ICE comes and takes you, deports you, but never tell the judge or never tell the district attorney that they have deported this guy or removed this guy from detention. So then the judge at that time will then issue an order for his arrest. Now, if he's deported, 2 years later he decides to come back to the United States and is say he's caught in California, and he's coming through a traffic stop, and they said, well, you have a warrant outstanding for you in North Carolina. Then he will be taken into custody, being held, and then he will be extradited back to North Carolina. Who is paying for that? The citizens of that county. When he gets back to North Carolina, he's going to walk in and say, ICE deported me. How much of time is that going to take? How much of paperwork is that going to accomplish of him being in ICE custody? All of that is something that they did not think about when they were creating House Bill 318. And who pays for that again? The taxpayers of Mecklenburg County, because now he's back in our custody and we're going to have to keep him in custody till we resolve this issue. Those are the kind of things that we should talk about when we're creating House bills.
This is not a loophole, but something that obviously needs to be addressed.
But this is what they use the word word loophole, it is a step that they probably did not think about because they are not in the law enforcement arena.
So the suspect from Friday night's light rail stabbing, he was deported before.
Twice.
Came back. He is now in Mecklenburg County custody, and we are going to await his criminal case here and then hand it over to the feds.
If they choose to.
But
here's what I would suggest to them, and I'm always going to suggest this to them. The civil process of immigration is not working. We can see that, and this is a prime example. We have deported this person twice. And who's paying for that? And now he's been inside our detention center for several days. How long is he going to stay there? What we're simply saying is, if you want this to work, allow this person to stand for his state charges, and after his state charges are finished with, concluded, he's adjudicated, then take him into custody with ICE. Simply taking him out of custody at this time with pending state charges is a problem. What we are asking, or what I should suggest ICE do, but I can't tell them what to do. We always say that I can't tell them what to do. There is a federal law that they could well utilize, but they often do not. And it's called 1326, U.S. Code 1326, which is re-entry after deportation. That is a federal criminal felony crime that they should be charging him with today. If they choose to, can't tell them what to do, but simply putting the detainer on them will hold him in our custody, and when that 48 hours prior to him being released, we will call them and say he can be taken into custody if you wish to. That is what we're asking, but it is up to them because we cannot tell them what to do. But we all know when something does go wrong on their side, they're always going to blame the sheriff's office.
If Irina's law had gone into effect before last Friday, or if Irina's law had been into effect before Irina passed in August, would she still be alive today?
Would she?
Yes.
I don't know. I think that we are. And here's the sad part. We're over-exaggerating this one stabbing death, and we're over-exaggerating this stabbing on the light rail. Think about how many people were injured or stabbed that same day when the person was stabbed on the light rail. And not saying that Irina's law, we could have prevented that, and we never would know if we could prevent that. But the young man who took her life was diagnosed bipolar and schizophrenia, okay? But 618 people inside the Mecklenburg County Detention Center had that same diagnosis. And so it's not unique, but it's unique because it was caught on film, it was nationally sensationalized, and we used the word refugee instead of immigration. So again, we changed the wording to fit the agenda.
Gotcha. So we talked briefly a little bit before you came into the studio about what's happening back to immigration and operations that are happening with Charlotte's Web over, ICE operations still happening. They were happening before Border Patrol came into town, right? And so this is now, it's on the national stage. You're talking to other agencies and local governments in different parts of the country. What are you talking about?
Well, we're talking because nobody's talking to law enforcement. So imagine Border Patrol is going into these cities having no conversation with local law enforcement. Border Patrol came to Charlotte and spent 4 or 5 days, never contacted the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. And why it was so ironic that all this was happening, because doing the interviews on CNN, that is 500 yards from my office. So we had no conversation. We haven't, the right hand of Fellowship for Law Enforcement. We don't even know if these were Border Patrol agents. We just assumed that because we said that they're coming in and doing their work or whatever it they're doing. And so myself and other agencies across the country now are having these conversations. What is happening? Why can't we be respected enough just to have a conversation? We cannot stop them from what they're doing because they are federal law enforcement officers, but we surely can have a conversation, collaboration, and 100% communication. And I'm always going to say that because this is all we're asking for. Have a conversation with us. We may can help you. We can tell you this is not the way it should happen, but at least have the respect to have the conversation. But everybody that I've talked to across this nation, Chicago and all the other cities, says they have not spoken to us, no communication. So how does that look? Law enforcement comes into a county or cities, terrorize your citizens, drag people out of the car, bust windows out, arrest your legal citizens, then unarrest them and leave them on the side of the road, and you have no conversation with them. That is what we're talking about, and we're going to continue to talk about it till someone hears us.
What does immigration enforcement ideally look like?
Well, it looks like it is unmanned at this time. It's a renegade system. And what we are saying is have a conversation. Now, I'm always going to divide this as I did previously. When I asked ICE, the regional director and the
All right, so that is the full interview there with Sheriff Gary McFadden with Mecklenburg County. All right, and you can catch that full interview right now on our digital platforms. Let's go now to a press conference there inside the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System's headquarters. Let's take a listen in. Again, a stabbing there, North Forsyth High School today. Let's take a listen in.
Pray for the community.
Vamos a creer que oremos para la familia.
It's truly another sad day in Forsyth County.
Es un día muy malo para el condado de Forsyth.
At approximately 11:04 a.m. this morning, our SRO sent out a communication.
Aproximada a las 11:04 de la mañana, los oficiales mandaron un anuncio
that he needed all hands on deck. We responded to North Forsyth High School.
que necesitaban
Upon
toda
arrival,
la ayuda
we responded to an altercation between two students.
en North Forsyth, la escuela, entre una
During
pelea
this-
entre dos estudiantes.
During this occasion, the altercation, there was a loss of life.
En esta pelea hubo una muerte entre
What I
los
would tell
dos
you is
estudiantes.
that the families of the people involved have been notified. What I would tell you is that there is no danger to the community. What I would tell you is that Winston-Salem Police Department, City of Winston-Salem, Emergency Management, the school system, we're praying with the family, for the family, to bring resolution. I know you have a lot of questions, but what I would tell you is that it's an ongoing investigation. What I can tell you is what this community needs now is prayer. I need your prayers. The principal needs your prayer. The community needs your prayer. We need prayer right now. That's what we need. I'm going to pause for a moment and bring Chief Penn to the podium to share a few words.
It's a dark day for our city. Events like this have shaken us to our very core. The Winston-Salem Police Department is an assisting agency in its investigation. Much like the Sheriff's Office and the school system, we're committed to identifying what occurred. What I would also say, and please by no means read more into this than what I'm saying, is that as a community, we're going to have to absolutely work together to stop senseless violence, period. I'd also like to say that whoever's sharing this video, liking this video, commenting on this video, please think about the insensitive nature of what you're doing. This isn't the time to clout chase. Our students, our teachers, all the staff at North Forsyth High School will need all of us. So as a community, again, I beg of us to come together to put an end to senseless violence. And at this time, I'm going to turn the podium over to Dr. Phipps.
I want to start by saying that our thoughts and prayers are with our students, staff, and family. When something like this happens, it impacts everyone involved, and that's certainly where our thoughts and prayers are. I want to express my sincere appreciation to local law enforcement and medical first responders for their quick responses and thorough work today. I also want to thank school faculty and staff members for their quick, responsive action. Today is a worst nightmare of any educator. We hurt when our students hurt, and this is the ultimate hurt that we can possibly feel. North Forsyth High School will be closed for students tomorrow. We will have our crisis team in place to meet with faculty and staff, and will extend those services to students upon their return. If immediate student needs arise, we encourage parents and guardians to look to the school's website for resources. As you've heard already, we covet your prayers, and certainly for all those involved.
I know there's a lot of questions that you probably have, but here's what I'm going to say as we close. It's an ongoing investigation. What the family needs now is your prayers. I just left the family. They need your prayers. The governor sends his prayers and condolences. He reached out. But I need prayers from the community. I need prayers from everybody. The school needs your prayer. The principal needs your prayer. The students. So what I'm asking you all to do in this community is that let's take a day of reflection and see where we are. Let's talk to our children, because our children need us now. The future is in need of us right now. All of us have been crying all morning. We have. I won't be answering any questions right now. I won't. They won't, because it's an ongoing investigation. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions. But as soon as we bring closure, what I will tell you is we will push the information out to you, as we've always been transparent. What I will tell you right now is that we have some work to do. Not just work with this, but we have some work to do in our community. I love you all. Again, my condolences and prayers to the family and all those involved, the students that have witnessed this. And again, I thank you for your time. At this time, we'll be concluding this press conference. Thank you all. As I said, I would love to entertain your questions. I think I stated in the beginning there was a loss of life of one. And that's all I'm going to give you. There was a loss of life of one. Thank you.
So wrapping up now, a live news conference about what happened at North Forsyth High School. There you see Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough. He is exiting along with the police chief, William Penn, and also Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools superintendent there. The main question that everyone had was who was involved and what happened. What he did answer for us was that it was between two students, so two students involved, and there is one fatality.
We are learning more, but still have a lot of unanswered questions here. During that news conference, you saw that Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough, there was not a Q&A. What we do know, this happened around 11 o'clock this morning at North Forsyth High School. There was a lockdown in place. That lockdown has since been lifted, and there is no threat to the community at this time. But during this news conference, no names were given. We do not know
the relationship of the two students?
Exactly. We haven't determined exactly how this all transpired. Our Amber Lake is on the scene. She has a family member who attends that high school, and she said that her family member witnessed somebody bring out a weapon, a knife, and then students scattered. So this is what we know right now. Still a lot, in terms of the perpetrator, we don't know that information yet, but there is no threat at the community, around the surrounding community of North Forsyth High School right now.
Yeah, the sheriff was very quick to say that both families have been spoken to by police. He was also very quick to say that this is a time for prayer for our community, for the principal of that school, and for law enforcement, as this is an ongoing investigation.
And he
All right, so you just heard that press conference there from a few people. The Forsyth County Sheriff, Bobby Kimbrough Jr., also the police chief there in Winston-Salem, Chief Penn, and also the superintendent of Winston-Salem, Forsyth County Schools, Don Phipps, who is new to the position, was just sworn in as superintendent there for the school system. A very brief press conference, but here's what we know. At least one person was killed in the stabbing. The police chief is urging people to stop sharing what he is calling insensitive video throughout social media, and this all took place around 11 o'clock this morning, and the school is closed, and there are counselors, crisis counselors available for the school. Again, who's involved, what happened, what exactly happened, what led up to this, still unknown at this moment. The sheriff there, Bobby Kimbrough Jr., did not answer questions and just reiterated that there was one loss of life in his words. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. So happening right now, SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launch is almost underway there in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Let's take a listen in.
Minus 60-second mark, Falcon 9 will enter startup. At that point, the rocket's onboard flight computers will take over, and from there on out, the countdown is fully autonomous. Just inside of T-minus 2 seconds, the 9 Merlin 1D engines will ignite. Once they're at full power,
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
Falcon 9 will lift off the pad and begin its climb to orbit. And we just heard confirmation that liquid oxygen loading for the second stage is complete, which completes the propellant equation for stage 2. At this point, you've probably noticed the white clouds venting from the rocket. That comes from the super cold oxygen gas on board. When oxygen is vented overboard and interacts with the warmer outside air, it condenses into clouds. It's the same principle as seeing your breath on a cold morning, just on a much larger scale. Weather continues to be green, tracking a 2% possibility of launch weather constraints for our scheduled liftoff at 2:16 p.m. Eastern Time. The gas closeout process is underway, which refers to venting and shutting down gaseous systems such as topping off the tanks and sealing vents to maintain pressure. Now we're standing by for confirmation that Falcon 9 will enter startup at the T-minus 1 minute mark.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
At this point, the autonomous flight computers have taken over the launch countdown, and stages 1 and 2 are pressing for launch. Let's listen in to the launch director's final go.
MD is go for launch.
As you heard, we are go for launch. Let's listen in to the final seconds of the countdown.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power and liftoff. Go Falcon, go Enroll 77. Vehicle is pitching downrange.
And with chamber pressure is nominal.
At T plus 30 seconds and counting, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And in just a few seconds, we'll throttle the engines down in preparation for Max Q, which stands for Maximum Dynamic Pressure. It's the moment in the launch
telemetry nominal
when the vehicle experiences the greatest mechanical stress that it will see during its ascent. To help go from vertical to horizontal, the first stage also performed a gravity turn where the engine's gimbal small amount
supersonic
to turn the first stage from going straight up to horizontal with the help of gravity. Eventually, Falcon 9 will be roughly horizontal to Earth as we achieve orbit.
Max Q.
Falcon 9 has just passed through Max Q, and the rocket typically needs to go 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and get into orbit. You can track our progress to orbit by watching the left corner of your display, which is showing first stage velocity and altitude. We have several events coming up in quick succession, and we should hear them all called out by mission control. These include main engine cutoff, or MECO, stage separation, stage 1 flip, second engine start 1, and boost back burn. Main engine cutoff is when we shut down all 9 M1D engines on the first stage. Stage separation is when the first and second stages of Falcon separate from one another. Stage 1 flip is when the booster uses its nitrogen gas thrusters to flip the booster around. Next, second engine start 1, we will light the MVAC engine on stage 2 for the first time, and after that is boost back burn, when the engines will light to place stage 1 on a trajectory towards the landing zone. So keep an eye out for these events happening back to back.
Stage separation confirmed.
Stage 1 boost back startup.
And there we had conclusion of that quick series of events, which again were main engine cutoff, second stage separation, stage 1 flip, second engine start 1, the MVAC engine, and the start of the boost back burn. Coming up next will be fairing separation in just a few seconds. The fairing will jettison.
Back here in the Live Impact News studio, James with Nick. And Nick, what's going to be interesting about this, unlike other telecasts that we have seen from SpaceX, we're not going to see what gets deployed. We're going to probably see this booster rocket re-entry the atmosphere, land again, because SpaceX has kind of pioneered this reusing of these rockets. But because the payload or the item that they are jettisoning into space is classified, we're not going to get to see whatever the deployment of that is. I could speculate what it is. You could speculate what it is. It's probably some sort of military or spy satellite, but obviously they're not going to tell us what it is. But this is SpaceX under contract with the U.S. government launching some sort of classified item into the atmosphere.
All right, yeah, interesting stuff right there. I think this is the first time for me. I've seen a
This is
launch.
the second such launch they have done under this contract, which was signed in August of 2020. So this is the first one for this mission that we've had on Live Impact News. Just like we've seen with astronauts going to the space station, the U.S. government has contracted with providers such as SpaceX or United Launch Alliance to handle some of these kind of on the private commercial side of things. I will tell you that the official patch for this mission, which is NROL77, the official patch features a flying squirrel image. What that means, I don't know. Officials say it represents hard work and endurance, but I don't know what that tells us or doesn't tell us about what is the capabilities of this, quote, classified payload. But yeah, it's represented by a flying squirrel image.
Okay, all right. Well, again,
you're welcome.
You take if you saw from the beginning, that was a live look there. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launch. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We're going to take you live here in outer space. SpaceX Falcon 9 landing. We did see it launch, but now it's landing. Let's take a listen in to what's happening right now.
The Merlins on Falcon's first stage are optimized for sea level, and these each achieve 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent. They provide the initial power to lift Falcon 9 out of the lower, thicker part of Earth's atmosphere. In comparison, the single MVAC engine on the second stage has a much wider nozzle, and it's optimized
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
in space, producing about 220,500
Stage 1
pounds of
FTS
thrust
has safed.
in a vacuum condition.
Stage 1 transonic.
In about 10 seconds, we'll have the start of the landing burn for the first stage. This is the final burn of the Falcon 9 booster, used to reduce the remaining speed of the vehicle for a gentle and precise landing. We should be hearing that call out shortly.
Stage 2 FTS has safed.
Stage 1 landing burn.
The landing burn has started up on Falcon 9's first stage. This is the final burn the booster will see prior to landing.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there we have another successful landing of our Falcon 9 rocket. This was the 4th launch and landing for this first stage. As a reminder, we will not be showing any Stage 2 or deployment views at the request of our customer. So with that landing of the Falcon 9 booster, we'll be bringing our webcast.
All right, so that is a live look from Cape Canaveral, Florida. SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket landing there after we saw it launch. All right, so that's happening there. Let's come back home. It is cold, and I am choked up because it's cold.
But the sun is out. It's so beautiful.
Okay, I got my voice back. It's beautiful outside. Let's check in on full forecast with Majestic Storm.
Well, good Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm. It has been a cold, cold morning. We woke up to temperatures mainly into the 20s, and really we're having a hard time warming up, and we're expected that we're not going to warm up a whole lot today. Better conditions though as soon as tomorrow. It was very slick and icy this morning up in the mountains. We were weather alert this morning. We no longer are. However, still watch for those icy spots, especially on those back roads. If you live in a mountain county, you can see lots of people out there at Beach Mountain enjoying a snow day there, and again still holding on to pockets of fog. So if you are traveling today, especially up towards the high country, and you notice your temperatures are right around freezing, I would suggest just slowing it down, because oftentimes that fog can actually freeze onto those surfaces. Downtown Monroe not looking bad today. I love your Christmas tree, looking quite festive. Again, temperatures today struggling, only rising into the 40s, low 40s. A cold day ahead, but I think we could have some small sun breaks here and there. We're struggling though with mainly overcast skies. We've been dealing with pockets of fog as well. 42 degrees yesterday. Today we're forecasting only 40 degrees here in Charlotte. Now, it's going to be even colder in the mountains, all right? 30 degrees for your high temperature in Blowing Rock. So everything is just really frozen over. If you didn't shovel the snow yesterday off of your sidewalk or your stairs or even your driveway, well, you're probably seeing kind of an ice skating rink now with very crunchy snow out there as well. 39 degrees there in Morganton, 37 for your high today in Lenoir and Hickory. Maiden checking in at 38 this afternoon. Low 40s from Charlotte to Shelby, even through Lincolnton, with upper 30-degree temperatures in Statesville, and then 41 degrees today in Lancaster with mainly cloudy but dry conditions. Overnight lows tonight drop down again below freezing for many of us, around those mid-20s in Boone, 31 in Charlotte. So perhaps if you're up in the mountains and you actually do get little sunshine breaking through here and there, and you notice that snow and ice is melting, that means refreeze overnight and into tomorrow morning is likely. So another slick and icy start to our Wednesday morning. However, Wednesday, it's going to be nice, 54 degrees. We'll take that over those low 40s that we're going to get today. More sunshine on Thursday and Friday, and wait until you see the temperature on Saturday. Satellite and radar today not looking bad. Again, holding on to quite a bit of cloud coverage through most of the day today. Here's 3 o'clock. We're not looking at any more moisture though as we're heading into the rest of our work week really. And then Tuesday, actually Wednesday, as we're heading into Wednesday morning, that's when we start out the day with really beautiful conditions, sunny skies, but it will be rather cold for the first half of our day. Let's break down those temperatures. Our 10-day forecast, 40 degrees for our high today, so bundle on up. 54 though for our high tomorrow, with low 50s continuing through Friday. 60 degrees on Saturday. Do you have plans on Saturday? That'd be a good day to get outside. Maybe you want to pack up the family and head out to go look at some Christmas lights. It's going to be fine as we're heading into the overnight hours though next week. Monday is going to be cold. Really waking up early on Monday. 19 degrees is what we're forecasting, and that's before you even factor in the wind. Not seeing any rain throughout the rest of our work week, or really not much over the weekend. There's that Jerry Hines Supercenter 7-day forecast. 50s as we're wrapping up our work week. We'll enjoy that 60-degree day on Saturday with much colder air arriving by Monday.
All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. So we're following developments out of Gaston County. So Gaston County officials are confirming 18th and 19 cases of rabies this year. Cherryville kitten tested positive for rabies. It's interesting because we have Miles Harris here in studio. Miles, you were telling us when you were out doing the story, we were on the 18th case, and you quickly found out.
Literally, the 19th was happening right before I put the microphone on.
Right.
Literally was putting the microphone on, and they were like, yeah, we actually just got our 19th case. So this is interesting because this is now 19 cases in Gaston County compared to last year they had like 7. So there's a lot more cases. And so it's a combination, though, as well of wildlife as long as also domestic. You mentioned the 18th case was a kitten that was quarantined. Now, that case actually dates back to I would say October because it was involving a skunk. So the skunk in that case was the 15th, was back in October.
Okay.
They did some testing, got it confirmed that this kitten has been quarantined during that time, tested positive for rabies.
Okay.
So then literally within 24 hours, now this 19th case, a skunk tests positive for rabies. So they are seeing a lot more cases in Gaston County, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And what's happening right now is I think there's a lot of questions from people that may have some reservations when it comes to vaccinations, possibly. Not speaking for anybody in this case in particular, but that seems to be a combination of that and just like the population of things that are happening out in that area. And it's happening everywhere, though, too. But Gaston County has been keeping track of it more so than a lot of other areas. And so that's how we're keeping track and seeing really what looks like could just be a bit of a pop-up and more of a ramp-up, I guess, of these rabies cases.
What are they telling pet owners?
They get vaccinations.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know it was that simple.
It's simple and short.
Okay.
It's the vaccinations, but also like from even a state standpoint, but even in Gaston County, like it's a law. Like you have to get these animals vaccinated.
Yeah.
And so I talked to a vet as well, and like they're pushing that same urgency. It's crazy that it's alarming to have this many cases. It is. It really, really is. Because it's not like rabies is just like a small time case. I mean, these are fatal situations. And like it's as simple as, you not keeping an eye on your cat or your pet or your dog. They're outside. They get bit by an animal, a wildlife animal. They have rabies. Then it's a bigger situation.
Right.
And so there's a concern obviously from the pets. Also there's a concern from families, people as well, if this spreads, things of that nature. So that's the gist that we're trying to hear from officials and also hear from vets in that area, what they're saying. But again, the short answer with that is, get these animals vaccinated, keep these vaccinations up to date is the big push here.
Before I let you go, did they sort of explain, vets, why people are reluctant? I mean, you would think, again, I don't want to assume. But
no, and that's the tricky part too. The thing that is good, I talked to the vet clinic. It's called New Hope.
Yeah.
They have not run into any of these cases specifically, and they haven't really run into any people that are drawing hesitancy when it comes to getting the vaccines. But again, this isn't just happening in Gaston County. I mean, we're doing our research. We're seeing it's kind of happening in a lot of other places, not just in North Carolina as well. As far as the rabies cases that are kind of starting to kind of uptick a bit. And so, again, I think what they're also seeing or hearing is more so as maybe there's a little bit more reservations when it comes to the vaccines because, I mean, how else really are we seeing these numbers? And I mean, you can still get bit, have vaccines, but again, get another, I guess, booster shot is what they call it with that though too. But the biggest thing they're pushing for outside of those vaccines is keeping a close eye on those pets, not leaving them outside a little bit longer than you need to. They're seeing this really happen and spread out throughout the county. So they're just trying to keep as control of this as they possibly can. But I mean, 19 cases, it's not a small number.
Yeah, it's not. All right, Miles, we can catch Miles' story at 4:30 and 5:30 this evening. I took that I know you were about to say it, but I went ahead and said it.
I told you, you're the hype man. You do a great you do a great job, man.
No, you do a great job, Miles. Thank you for the story. Again, you can catch him at 4:30 and 5:30. Thank you for stopping in. All right, let's shift over to New York City. A drastically different topic here. So there was a fire at a Upper West Side building. At one point, raining flaming debris onto the sidewalk. Let's check in with NBC on the latest on that fire.
All right, Nick, this was supposed to have a reporter track on it. Doesn't seem to have any reporter track on it.
Well, I got.
But you said the gist of it.
Yeah, I got some information. So you're looking at video from earlier, but raging flames, and this is from NBC New York, NBC4 there in New York. Raging flames leaped from an apartment building on Manhattan's Upper West Side earlier today, raining debris on the sidewalk and spewing smoke across the cityscape, but causing no major injuries, according to officials. The fire broke out at a 6-story building on 107th Street in Amsterdam around 8:20 this morning, according to FDNY, fire department there in New York. And it escalated to a 4th alarm shortly after 9 a.m. It took a few hours to knock it down. You can see, man, there's a lot of flames there. Scary scene there.
Watch this piece of the corner building go down right there onto the sidewalk down below. Dangerous situation for firefighters.
Very much so. Well, the Department of Buildings records show the non-fireproof building has 21 units. Investigators say each floor had about 4 of them. There were no reports, again, of any major injuries there. 3 residents did suffer some minor injuries, and there was a firefighter who suffered a burn injury during that response. Officials held a press conference this morning, but as we get more information, we'll make sure to update you on that situation there in New York City. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. All right, so the former Colleton County Clerk of Court who oversaw the highly publicized Alex Murdaugh double murder trial was sentenced on Monday after pleading guilty to 4 state charges from her arrest earlier this year. Let's toss it now to CNN for an update on this developing story.
Good luck to you, man. Becky Hill, the woman who oversaw the 6-week Alex Murdaugh trial, avoids prison after pleading guilty.
Your Honor, I respectfully ask for the opportunity to continue supporting my family and to work every day to rebuild the trust that I have broken.
She pleaded guilty to 2 misconduct in office charges for taking more than $11,000 in bonuses and promoting her book on the Murdaugh trial through her public office, per Special Prosecutor Rick Hubbard.
You cannot monetarily benefit from your elected position.
The obstruction of justice charge stems from a state investigation where she showed sealed crime scene photos from the Murdaugh trial to members of the press, She then lied about it under oath, leading to a perjury charge.
I find that the clerk of court is not completely credible as a witness.
Her attorney, Will Lewis, asked for grace from the judge.
No one can come in this courtroom and say that Ms. Hill, a 58-year-old grandmother, a mother, has been employed her whole life, is at any risk of reoffending.
Hill says she's sorry.
There is no excuse for my mistakes. I am ashamed of them, and I will carry that shame with me for the rest of my life.
We want to take you now to Massachusetts, where happening live. The Brian Walsh murder trial continues for its 7th day after testimony Monday ranged from surveillance footage of the defendant buying cleaning supplies to further discussion of sudden unexpected death. Right now, DNA evidence is being presented in this trial. Let's take a listen into what's being said.
And what was the DNA profile result for this item?
There was a female DNA profile observed originating from a single contributor.
Were you able to come to a conclusion about the comparison to the known profile of Anna Walsh?
The DNA profile from this item is at least 30 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Anna Walsh than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. This provides support for inclusion of Anna Walsh to this DNA profile.
And were you able to come to a conclusion about the comparison to the known profile of Brian Walsh?
Brian Walsh is excluded from this DNA profile.
Moving on to the third round of DNA testing. What is item 7-13.1?
It is a sample from Area A on the head of a hatchet, placard number 8 at 300 Forest Street.
And what was the DNA profile result from this item?
There was a female DNA profile observed originating from a single contributor.
Were you able to come to a conclusion about the comparison to the known profile of Anna Walsh?
The DNA profile from this item is at least 33 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Anna Walsh than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual, and this provides support for an inclusion of Anna Walsh to this DNA profile.
Were you able to come to a conclusion about the comparison to the known profile of Brian Walsh?
Brian Walsh is excluded from this DNA profile.
What is item 7-13.2.1?
That is the sample from the handle of the hatchet, placard number 8 at 300 Forest Street.
And what was the DNA profile result for this item?
The DNA profile from this item was interpreted as a mixture of 2 contributors. Due to limited information available, contributor 2 was deemed not suitable for comparison purposes.
So, were you able to come to a conclusion about the comparison to the known profile of Anna Walsh?
Yes, the DNA profile from this item is at least 2.6 octillion times more likely if it originated from Anna Walsh and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unrelated individuals, and this provides support for an inclusion of Anna Walsh to this profile.
And what does it mean due to limited information, contributor 2 is not suitable for comparison?
It just means that in this mixture DNA profile, the data that is observed for one of these 2 contributors is so low level that we would not be able to make a comparison to any known reference standards. So we test 26 locations. We require in our DNA processing that data must be observed at a minimum of 3 locations for us to be able to do any comparisons to it. In this case, data was observed at less than 3 locations for this second contributor.
And what is an octillion?
An octillion is 1 followed by 27 zeros.
And you said that you were able to provide support for Anna Walsh, but were you able to come to a conclusion about the comparison to the known profile of Brian Walsh?
Brian Walsh is excluded from the first contributor that's suitable for comparison in this DNA profile.
So what does that mean?
So since it's a mixture of 2 contributors and I can only compare one of the 2, that one contributor, the DNA profile shows that it's the likelihood ratio shows support for inclusion of Anna Walsh to this profile, but Brian Walsh is excluded from that suitable for comparison first contributor in this profile.
What was item 9-20.1?
That was sampled from stain A on tape with apparent gauze with red-brown stains on it, found in bag number 2 at 300 Forest Street.
And what was the DNA profile result for this item?
There was a male DNA profile obtained on this item originating from a single contributor.
And were you able to come to a conclusion about the comparison to the known profile of Anna Walsh?
Anna Walsh was excluded from this DNA profile.
And were you able to come to a conclusion about the comparison to the known profile of Brian Walsh?
The DNA profile is at least 23 octillion times more likely if it originated from Brian Walsh than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual, and this provides support that Brian Walsh is included as a contributor to this DNA profile.
And what is an octillion?
An octillion is 1 followed by 27 zeros.
I might have one moment, Your Honor.
Yes. Cross.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I think you said it in your in some of your answers in regards to the first round of testing that you testified to. And was that testing, was the report issued on January 13th of 2023?
Yes, that's correct.
And in the context of some of your answers to the testing results that you told this jury about, for instance, sample 9-27.2.1 at paragraph 1 on page 2, you indicate that it was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors.
That's correct.
Now, as you were explaining that and some of the other conclusions and the results of testing, you used the phrase at least 3 people, correct?
That's correct.
So when you write this report and you include the phrase, the DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors, it's more accurate to say the DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of at least 3 contributors?
No, when we are doing our testing, we are using the information that we have in our profile, and in order to do any comparison analysis or further any kind of interpretation on it, we have to determine the number of contributors. So in this case, the data that I observed showed that there was 3 individuals in this. There could be more, but it's not in the data that I observed.
There could be more, though.
Yes, obviously the instrumentation we use, there could be contributors that are there that are not detected, but the ones that I observed, the profile showed a mixture of 3 contributors, which is how I interpreted this profile.
And when you interpret the number of mixtures, like you've just explained to the jury, am I right in saying that since we each inherit 1 allele from our father at a particular locus and 1 allele from our mother, then we typically have 2 different alleles at that one particular locus. Is that fair to say?
We could have 1 or 2 alleles at a locus, depends on if you inherit the same characteristic from both the mother and the father, or you inherit 2 different characteristics from the mother and the father.
And when you inherit the same allele, your father gives you the same allele as your mother, that would be a homozygote. That would be another way to frame that.
That's correct. That's a scientific term for that.
As opposed to two different alleles, your mother gave you one allele, your father gave you a different allele, then you'd be considered a heterozygote at that locus.
That's correct.
So what you're doing is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, what you're doing is you're looking at all the alleles that you have in front of you on a particular sample, and you're trying to determine how many, and once again, correct me if I'm wrong, you're trying to determine how many peaks you have at a particular locus. And for instance, if you had, two heterozygotes combined in a two-part mixture, you would probably expect to see 4 different alleles there?
If we were looking at a mixture of 2 contributors, we would expect to see up 3 or 4 characteristics at the location. When we are looking at the DNA profile, he mentioned the word peaks. They kind of look like an EKG. If you can imagine like peaks and valleys on an EKG, that's what our data looks like. And so when we're looking at that, we are trying to just not only look at how many of those peaks are present, but what the level of each of those peaks is, because that can also tell us if it's coming from different individuals. So you would expect that if the same individual is contributing DNA to it at all of these 26 locations, they would contribute similar amounts of DNA at all the 26 locations. And so if we see some high peaks in one location and low peaks in a different one, that could also tell us that there is a mixture present as well. So not only looking at the number of peaks that are present, but also the level of these peaks.
And so there are some assumptions being made about the way you interpret the data.
The assumptions we're making is based in science that we inherit half our DNA from our mother and half from our DNA from our father. So we expect to see 1 or 2 alleles or peaks at each of these locations. So we're using that information to then assess the profile to see how many contributors are in this profile.
And without complicating this too much, and I don't intend to do that, but there is observed in DNA testing data, not just at a particular allele, 1 allele if it's a homozygote or 2 alleles if it's a heterozygote, but there's actually times when there's a triallelic allele, all right?
That's correct.
And so that's all I meant about the assumptions, and I understand they're scientifically based, but there are assumptions being made, correct?
Right. So if there is something like a triallelic pattern, there is a pattern to them, and we do know what those patterns look like. And what triallelic is that during the cell formation that happens, there's a mutation that occurs in the DNA that causes an extra copy to be present, either of either the allele from your mother, or the allele from your father, or a form of that allele, and that would cause, instead of seeing 1 or 2 peaks, we would see 3 peaks present for that person. But those usually have a pattern to them, and we can look at that, especially in single source profiles, and determine that. I did not observe any such things in the profiles that I saw in this testing that we did.
It's very clear, isn't it, that you have in a lot of these samples, if not most of these samples, you have concluded that a profile that was associated with Anna Walsh from a known sample, you could see the same profile in many of these samples, correct?
For any of the ones that were single source contributors, meaning there's only one person, that's where I can make that exact matching from the reference.
And then the ones that are mixtures?
The ones that are mixtures, those we would have to compare the whole profile as a whole. So it wouldn't always just be a matching of the 2 different peaks that we see. It would be a matching of looking at that plus the information we have on the levels of that contribution to see how likely it is to observe that profile if they were included in this mixture versus not included in this mixture.
Thank you. We appreciate your very clear answers. And what I would like to ask you now is something that you said early on direct examination. Your DNA testing and your results that you're reporting to this jury, it does not inform you of how a particular biological substance or a nuclear cell that resulted in the DNA profile, how it was deposited on that particular object that appears here in the reports, correct?
All right, so that is the Brian Walsh murder trial that is underway. We want to take you now to some breaking news. This is a look at I-85. This is the northbound lane that is closed, or northbound lanes that are closed there in Gastonia. This just shy of exit 17. Now, according to Gastonia Police, and this is what they write, happening right now, there's an active police situation happening on I-85 northbound. Again, just shy of exit 17. And they say this area should be tied up for quite some time, so they're asking drivers to avoid this area. And also, James, you mentioned there is a detour for folks.
Yes, so North Carolina Department of Transportation officials are suggesting that northbound drivers coming towards the Charlotte area get off right after the state line, just after they cross into Gaston County, and take US 74 in Kings Mountain. We could show this to you on a map right here. So the crash is right here near Interstate 85 and US 321 in Gastonia, and officials are suggesting that you get off way back here at US 74 near Kings Mountain, which is exit 10, and take Kings Mountain Highway, US 74, into Gastonia to detour around this closure.
All right, so we will continue to keep you updated there on what's unfolding there in Gastonia. Again, if you're headed that way, or maybe you're sitting in traffic, this is what's happening right now, a police situation, according to Gastonia Police. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Good afternoon, and we are back. We're going to start first by saying hello to you. I'm Colin Mayfield inside the Impact Studio, taking over for Nick as that team gets ready for the 4 o'clock news over on our linear newscast, WCNC Charlotte, at 4 o'clock. But we're going to go to our weather impact team because, as you probably well know, we had 2-hour delays in many areas today because of the side roads, the secondary roads that they expected to have black ice on. And when I say they, I mean the weather impact team, which we're going to go to right now.
Well, good Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm. It has been a cold, cold morning. We woke up to temperatures mainly into the 20s, and really we're having a hard time warming up, and we're expected that we're not going to warm up a whole lot today. Better conditions though as soon as tomorrow. It was very slick and icy this morning up in the mountains. We were weather alert this morning. We no longer are. However, still watch for those icy spots, especially on those back roads. If you live in a mountain county, you can see lots of people out there at Beach Mountain enjoying a snow day there, and again still holding on to pockets of fog. So if you are traveling today, especially up towards a high country, and you notice your temperatures are right around freezing, I would suggest just slowing it down, because oftentimes that fog can actually freeze onto those surfaces. Downtown Monroe not looking bad today. I love your Christmas tree, looking quite festive. Again, temperatures today struggling, only rising into the 40s, low 40s. A cold day ahead, but I think we could have some small sun breaks here and there. We're struggling though with mainly overcast skies. We've been dealing with pockets of fog as well. 42 degrees yesterday. Today we're forecasting only 40 degrees here in Charlotte. Now, it's going to be even colder in the mountains, all right? 30 degrees for your high temperature in Blowing Rock. So everything is just really frozen over. If you didn't shovel the snow yesterday off of your sidewalk or your stairs or even your driveway, well, you're probably seeing kind of an ice skating rink now with very crunchy snow out there as well. 39 degrees there in Morganton, 37 for your high today in Lenoir and Hickory. Maiden checking in at 38 this afternoon. Low 40s from Charlotte to Shelby, even through Lincolnton, with upper 30-degree temperatures in Statesville, and then 41 degrees today in Lancaster with mainly cloudy but dry conditions. Overnight lows tonight drop down again below freezing for many of us, around those mid-20s in Boone, 31 in Charlotte. So perhaps if you're up in the mountains and you actually do get little sunshine breaking through here and there, and you notice that snow and ice is melting, that means refreeze overnight and into tomorrow morning is likely. So another slick and icy start to our Wednesday morning. However, Wednesday, it's going to be nice, 54 degrees. We'll take that over those low 40s that we're going to get today. More sunshine on Thursday and Friday, and wait until you see the temperature on Saturday. Satellite and radar today not looking bad. Again, holding on to quite a bit of cloud coverage through most of the day today. Here's 3 o'clock. We're not looking at any more moisture though as we're heading into the rest of our work week, really. And then Tuesday, actually Wednesday, as we're heading into Wednesday morning, that's when we start out the day with really beautiful conditions, sunny skies, but it will be rather cold for the first half of our day. Let's break down those temperatures. Our 10-day forecast, 40 degrees for our high today, so bundle on up. 54 though for our high tomorrow, with low 50s continuing through Friday. 60 degrees on Saturday. Do you have plans on Saturday? That'd be a good day to get outside. Maybe you want to pack up the family and head out to go look at some Christmas lights. It's going to be fine as we're heading into the overnight hours though next week. Monday is going to be cold. Really waking up early on Monday. 19 degrees is what we're forecasting, and that's before you even factor in the wind. Not seeing any rain throughout the rest of our work week, or really not much over the weekend. There's that Jerry Hines Supercenter 7-day forecast. 50s as we're wrapping up our work week. We'll enjoy that 60-degree day on Saturday with much colder air arriving by Monday.
Hey folks, we got some live breaking news right now we want to find out with you. We have Senator Thom Tillis speaking. Let's go to this in person live right now.
Nation, and one of the few countries globally that does not compensate performers or copyright holders when their songs are played on AM/FM radio. This denies American artists an estimated $200 million a year in performance royalties that would be due to them in virtually any other country. Now, the purpose of this hearing, I think most of y'all know that you've met with me in my office or talked to me about other bills. I don't like to have, I like to bring people to the table and come up with a reasonable and fair outcome. The purpose of this hearing is to get everybody at the table, to hopefully keep them at the table versus being on the table. I want to try and come up again with a just and fair solution, and I think it starts with hearings like this. I'm going to turn to Senator Schiff. I see Senator Padilla is here. I also expect Senator Blackburn, if they get here before it is time to open up and introduce the witnesses, I will give them an opportunity to speak. But now I'll turn to Senator Schiff, my ranking member.
Thank you, Chairman Tillis. And
Hey folks, this is Jeb Goldman, the producer here. Just want to let you guys know you're listening into a Senate Judiciary music lyrics hearing. Gene Simmons and other musicians are testifying right now about balancing interests of local radio, songwriters, and performers in the digital age, with testimonies from Gene Simmons, Sound Exchange President and CEO Michael Hupp, and Interbanks Media President and CEO Henry Hilton, essentially breaking down how music lyrics and how music is licensed in 2025 in an age of AI and everything in between. What is the best for the musicians and those artists? Let's listen in right now to California Senator Adam Schiff.
And the opportunity to address an inequity in the creative ecosystem in which performing artists in America go uncompensated when their recordings are played on terrestrial radio. Songwriters get paid, music publishers get paid, all as they should. But the artists whose voices we actually hear get nothing. This anomaly places the United States in troubling company. We stand alongside only Iran and North Korea in refusing to recognize performance rights for sound recordings on terrestrial radio. Nearly every other industrialized nation, including China, has recognized that artists deserve compensation when their work is broadcast. This isn't just about fairness at home. American artists are losing an estimated $70 to $100 million annually in foreign royalties because other countries won't pay our artists when we refuse to pay theirs. The American Music Fairness Act, led by Senators Blackburn and Padilla, offers a bipartisan strategy to address this inequity. And in acknowledging the benefits local radio provides while also recognizing that artists deserve to be paid for their work, this bill includes protections for small and local stations as well. I deeply value the role of local radio in our communities. Local broadcasters provide vital news, emergency information, and entertainment, all of which relies on the hard work of local journalists, studio staff, and others, all of whom must be fairly compensated for their labor. The artists whose songs we hear on those same airwaves deserve the same. Compensating performers is common sense, and it also should not come at the expense of any other group of artists or other forms of copyright. This bill aims to mirror the performance royalty afforded to songwriters for their work and should no way dilute songwriter royalties. I want to take this opportunity to briefly address one other pressing concern for creators, which is not the focus of this hearing, but worth mentioning while we have so many of the valued stakeholders in this room. This includes recent reports that the White House has drafted an executive order that may be signed as early as this week to preempt state AI regulations. While AI has the potential to improve our lives and change the way we work and live, we need a unified approach to implementing AI guardrails to mitigate potential harms to users, consumers, and creators alike. So we need to make sure that we have common sense AI regulation which protects artists from the unauthorized use of their work or likeness. And while the Congress and the federal government should certainly take the lead in crafting rules of the road for this revolutionary technology, in the absence of federal leadership, the states can and must exercise the power they have to protect their residents. Members of both parties, including several Republican governors, have spoken out against this potential federal preemption and urged Congress to protect state-level AI protections. This bipartisan concern reflects a fundamental truth. The challenges posed by AI to copyright and to creators' livelihoods demand thoughtful legislation, not overreach, and we must not preempt the important work that's going on. The Music Fairness Act is the kind of considered, balanced legislation we should be pursuing to address complex policy challenges, and I look forward to hearing from our witnesses. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, Padilla, would you like to make comments before the witnesses?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate your prioritizing this topic in the proposals for the subcommittee. Hardworking artists make it possible for us to enjoy the music that ultimately becomes the soundtrack of our lives, right? Where the holidays are upon us. Everybody has some favorite songs we sing with our families back at home, or we think back nostalgically to our younger days and what music we were fans of when we were in high school or college or other happy times throughout our life. But today I'm also reminded that everybody's struggling with the cost of living in so many categories. And though it may be surprising to some, I know that artists are no exception to that struggle. Now more than ever, the United States needs to join every other democratic country, as you pointed out, in recognizing a public performance right for artists whose sound recordings are played on AM and FM radio, among other places. The issue, in my opinion, is about doing what's right and what's fair. And so I'm glad we're moving forward with the American Music Fairness Act. And I want to be clear that my support for this measure, which I'm co-sponsoring with Senator Blackburn here, is in no ways mutually exclusive with my support for local radio, which also plays an irreplaceable role in our communities, from facilitating emergency responses to uplifting local culture and local news. I actually believe the American Music Fairness Act would allow both artists and radio to thrive. So looking forward to discussion today, to exchange with our witnesses, and for this committee as a whole and our Senate to take action sooner rather than later. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to our witnesses. We are so pleased that you are here. I appreciate the support in holding this hearing and bringing the issue forward. This is one that I've worked on since about 2008. And as Senator Padilla said, this is an issue about fairness. It is an issue about allowing a creator to exercise their constitutional right, an Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8 right, which is a right our Constitution gives to creators to benefit from their creations. And of course, we know when it comes to AM/FM radio, there has been an inequity.
You're watching WCNC Plus inside the Impact Studio here, listening to the Senate hearing on music, lyrics, and royalties. We're going to have a live interview in just a couple of moments. Bear with us as we send you back to the Senate hearing right now.
Found it really so interesting that when you look at the civilized world and you look at all the countries that compensate our artists, we are unfortunately in a...
All right, folks, we're going to cut away from this as we promised. Want to get to our live interview as we have the chairman of the Mecklenburg County Republican Party sitting down with us or joining us via satellite interview here. We appreciate it. Kyle, thank you so much for your time. This is Mr. Kyle Kirby. Kyle, last night, I'm sure you watched the Charlotte City Council meeting because, of course, we got your release about the $3.4 million that they talked about for the public relations campaign that they want to undertake, right, to promote the city's light rail system. And, you know, there is an obvious issue, an elephant in the room. We've had crime issues recent of the last couple of days, another stabbing. Obviously, no one died like what happened in August with that horrific stabbing with Irina Zarutska. But let's just open up the floor to you, Mr. Kirby. You know, reading your statement here from the Mecklenburg County GOP, it seems like you guys want this money to be better spent. Talk about what your perspective is in this matter.
Well, first of all, I have to start off by saying this is absolutely not satire, because the the City of Charlotte City Council just allocated $3.4 million not to go to security, but instead to go to a PR firm to pay to have the perception of the light rail changed in the minds of Charlotteans. So where on earth, what kind of extraterrestrial planet are we living on where we don't address the actual problem, but instead we decide to hire a PR firm to change the perceptions? It sounds like the Charlotte City Council wants people to sit down and shut up about the safety issues and just enjoy the fact that we have a light rail.
Yeah, it is very interesting, especially because, it was put up on the ballot just less than or more than a month ago now. And people, not overwhelmingly, but voted for this infrastructure or the sales tax, right, to go forward. So it is interesting. Obviously, there was a majority in favor for it, that this is the way that things are going. There's been numerous issues with council, last tenure, with transparency issues. At least they're not hiding this, but I guess that's all that you can say in terms of that, right? I mean, why would they be thinking about this, right now?
It's befuddling. I have no idea. I mean, you look at $3.4 million and what that could actually do. So that could get us a police officer on every rail car. That could get us fencing around the platforms to ensure people that are not ticketed don't get in there. It could have prevented the death of Irina Zaruska, and it could have prevented the stabbing that just occurred. I mean, what on earth are we doing with the taxpayers' money if we're not protecting them first and foremost? I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It's like the city council wants to just pull the wool over everyone's eyes and act like none of these horrific crimes are happening. None of this violence that's going on in the CAT system is going on. Instead, we're deciding to spend $3.4 million on a PR firm to improve the perception of Charlotteans. Again, it's do as I say and sit down and shut up, and we don't want to hear any complaints from the taxpayers about safety. We don't want to hear any complaints about the understaffing of the security officers. We don't want to hear any complaints about the lack of security at the platforms. But what we're going to do is we're going to engage in a great public relations, social media, television, radio advertisement to let you know how good and safe this thing really is, when in reality it's not safe at all. People are dying, Irina Zaruska, and people are getting seriously injured. The stabbing that just happened the other night. I mean, I'm talking about a good Samaritan that was on the light rail that was protecting elderly folks from a drunken person that was accosting others on this system, and he got stabbed in the chest for standing up and trying to protect other people. Where is the policing? Where are our priorities in Charlotte? I tell you, it's not a public relations perception we have in Charlotte. It's a leadership problem that we have in Charlotte.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Kirby, because, we just watched immigration enforcement and the operations here in Charlotte. And, I'm sure you saw the president talk just a couple of days ago over the weekend about this recent stabbing. Even Mr. Gregory Bovino commenting about, Governor Josh Stein picking certain individuals over the safety of North Carolina. Would you say, in your estimation, that enforcement needs to come back? Not that they have left the area, but they need to maybe show force again, because that's been a discussion of topic. We've talked to individuals in different communities around Charlotte as well about there being a fear attached to that. But in your estimation, what would be the next step here?
Well, I certainly would welcome the return of DHS and Immigration and Border Patrol here in Charlotte, because if we had a police force and a sheriff's department that was cooperating with Homeland Security, there's a very good chance that this particular stabbing would not have happened. And here's the reason why, is as you reported on the other day, one of your reporters reported on the other day, this individual had an incident on Kat's property where he was already carrying a concealed weapon, a knife, and was banned from Kat's property. Now, had that turned into an arrest and a police report, and the police and the sheriff's department were cooperating with Homeland Security, that could have been one of the people that was picked up and removed off the streets, and we would not be talking about this stabbing going on. But instead of cooperating with the Border Patrol, the city council once again decided to take taxpayer money and allocate $100,000 to people that were, quote, impacted by the presence of Border Patrol. And other organizations, civic organizations in Charlotte, the county commission and CMS issue statements to embolden people not to participate in the enforcement of federal immigration laws. They tell people basically to resist, blow whistles, do all kinds of things to stop the Immigration and Border Patrol from doing their job, which is to take people off of the streets that skipped the legal process to be here in the first place. And all I can say is, based off of WCNC's reporting with that incident involving the same person that is the perpetrator of this crime, had we had a more cooperative police department and sheriff's department here in Charlotte, there's a good chance that this would not have happened. Now, one other point that I do want to make is the light rail system is a closed circuit system. That means once you get onto the train, you're in there. So it is possible for us as a city to control every ounce of crime or problems that go on in that system as a closed system. It's not like you can get off in between stations, and it's not like you should even be able to get on the platform in the first place if you don't have a ticket. So what this tells me is that even though taxpayers approved for the expansion of the light rail system, the city of Charlotte and CATS overall is still not taking the safety of these individuals seriously, because as a closed system, it is 100% possible for us to stop all crime on the light rail system.
I mean, you're right. It happens on the L in Chicago. It happens in New York. You can't get through parts of the subway system without having a valid ticket. So you make a great point. I do have to ask, because we talked about the immigration enforcement, Mr. Kirby, you know, and we did ask this. I know specifically one of our reporters did ask DHS this, and we haven't gotten any response yet. So I don't want to ask you specifically, because I'm sure you aren't going to have the response. But I guess that's our question is, how did a man like this, Mr. Solorzano, not get swept up in these immigration enforcement operations? Because, you know, as we reported on, there were, you know, operators of businesses, employees of other businesses that were here legally. How did that happen? Because it seems like, you know, after the effect, right, people are upset that this did happen, but, you know, Border Patrol was here. So was it a miscommunication with law enforcement? What do you think happened?
Well, so there's a couple things going on. First of all, like I mentioned, we don't have good cooperation between CNPD and the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Department and DHS. Secondly, if somebody is in this country illegally and has not gone through the proper channels, the government does not know that they're here in the first place. So all Border Patrol can actually do is go around and ask people to see their paperwork. And if they're able to show them a ID, a passport, proper documentation, they move on. If they don't have that proper paperwork, then they have to look into that individual further. Again, we lived through 4 years, 20 million people coming across President Biden's border while it was an open border policy, and we frankly don't know who is in this country right now. So just like this fellow was in the country without the knowledge of Border Patrol or DHS and then committed a violent crime, who's to say that some of those people that came across that border, him being one of those during that 4-year period, are not also going to commit violent crimes? They shouldn't be here in the first place. If they're not supposed to be here in the first place, I don't care how violent or nonviolent the crime is, we as Charlotteans, as North Carolinians, and as U.S. citizens have enough crime to deal with from our own citizens and should not be having to put up with the rest of the world's individuals who are here illegally, supplementing and causing additional crimes on top of what we already have to deal with, and taxing our jails, our school systems, and our legal systems.
That's a great point. You know, as DHS pointed out, that Mr. Solorzano was picked up in Florida and New Jersey on prior offenses in recent years. So, yeah, just to back up some of those claims, we do have information, obviously, on his criminal history there. I did want to ask you, too, the Mecklenburg County Sheriff did talk a little bit about, you know, what you're speaking on. And he was discussing about resources, right, funding that they need to be able to detain more individuals like this, that they are asking for more funding. And specifically, I don't think he asked for the federal government, because that wouldn't necessarily come from that pot. But what could Mecklenburg County, you know, the department itself as a whole do when they are asking for more resources to hold individuals like this, when they're saying that they don't have those type of resources? Mr. Kirby, what should they do, I guess?
Well, the first thing we could do is not spend $3.4 million on a PR campaign and maybe give that money to the sheriff to hold dangerous criminals in the jail like we should be doing in the first place, and not have to tax the legislature to encourage the sheriff and magistrates and judges in Mecklenburg County to actually do their job and not allow violent criminals like DeCarlos Brown and Oscar Solazaro to walk out of jails and be able to commit crimes on the street. I know that's not necessarily the case with Oscar Solazaro, but it is the case with DeCarlos Brown. And I wonder to myself, had Irina's Law, House Bill 307, I believe it was, not been recently passed, would he also be right back out on the street like DeCarlos Brown was, ready to commit another crime?
Great point, and a great question. Unfortunately, we'll never know. So I guess it's been on the books for a week, and we'll see where it goes. Mr. Kirby, anything else I didn't ask you wanted to make clear or talk about at all?
Absolutely. A couple points I'd like to make real quick. Number one, we need a police officer on every single rail car. That's going to stop all these criminals. It's going to stop all this violence because it's an enclosed system. Number two, we need a barricade around the platform because that's going to stop people from getting on the platform that don't need to be on the platform. And number three, we don't need to be spending $3.4 million on a PR campaign. We should be giving it to the sheriff and other people to be able to keep our people on the streets safe from people that shouldn't be here in the first place. And lastly, we should be cooperating with the federal government when they have to take up the slack because our local county and city leaders are refusing to do their primary job, which is to keep people in the city of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County safe.
Mr. Kyle Kirby, we thank you so much for your time. Chairman of the Mecklenburg County Republican Party. Sir, thank you so much again for sitting down with us. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and be safe out here.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll be back right after this. So you just heard from the chairman of the Mecklenburg County GOP, Kyle Kirby. We're going to go to Ben Thompson's exclusive interview with Mayor Vi Lyles on this stabbing. And, of course, he'll ask other questions that Mr. Kirby just asked. So we'll go to this right now.
Let's talk about violence on the light rail. It's come up again in the last few days. After the death of Irina Zarutska, the city promised more patrols, more security guards. Are we clear yet? Were there extra security guards on the train on Friday night when the most recent stabbing happened?
I do not know the answer to that. That's something that we're looking at. And I think that, again, this is kind of like when you talk about the mayor's role and what I do, this is really in the care of our justice people. I mean, you know, we're Spencer Merriweather, our district attorney, our police officers are looking at this, and I want to say this at the beginning. When we had the most recent initiative or issue, the CMPD were right there, and they moved in quickly. There was an arrest quickly. This person is now in the jail, and so I think as long as we continue to do this, we're going to have to think about it differently. But I think that CMPD and everyone that's associated with cats wants it to be the very best, because the whole idea of us having the ability to have the authority to build out a transit system, it means that we have to figure out how to build a transit system that everyone would want to use, because it's a safe one.
Do you feel like the security on the light rail is currently sufficient?
You know, that's a very tough question to ask, and I say that because, you know, it can go smoothly for a very long time, but when there's one bad apple, you don't know that. And so we will continue to thrive for every possible initiative. So we're beginning already among our population to start thinking about, well, what are the designs? I'm really big on this idea for especially uptown as well as the rail system, is that we have to figure out how to create barriers for people that shouldn't be on it. And when we built the first rail line, it was just get up on it and just get on and ride. But now I don't think that that's an acceptable level of safety for our community. And that includes, you know, even uptown in our parking decks. You know, we built beautiful parking decks and people came in to and from work, but they don't feel safe right now. And so what do we have to do? And I'm really high on the idea of let's use all of the tools that we can have, that we can actually have architectural decisions made that might be a bit different. How do we create opportunities for people to build, but to build safety? I don't think many of us thought about, you build a house and, you know, you just have a house.
It sounds like to me you're talking about sort of the difference between, I think, what they call open and closed platforms. In places like New York City or Washington, D.C., you have to go through a turnstile. You have to pay just to get on the platform. Here, it's a much more open system. People can come and go. And is that what you're talking about? We need to revisit?
Exactly. We need to revisit. If we're going to build new transit lines, and we are going to build one because we've committed that to the northern towns, we're going to have to build one that is already planned as a safe space to be.
Would that include retrofitting blue line stations too?
I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but we really are diving deeply into that conversation, and there will be some kind of assessment there.
The local GOP said that there should be closed platforms, but also that there should be a security guard on every train. Do you see that as feasible?
I think anything that we would do to make people feel safe, we're going to have to do it. And so I don't know the answer to that, but I do think that there will be an answer to that soon.
Oscar Solorzano, the suspect in Friday's case, had been banned from the light rail just a few months ago. Is your understanding there's just not enforcement of that happening right now, or you're not sure?
I think that in most of the situation, it's where perhaps more people that are doing this understand more about how to do it than we understand how they do it. And so that's where I think that we are going to have, again, differences that we have to make, and we need to do it quickly so that when someone that thinks that they've got a plan, that plan is not going to work for it.
The president tweeted the other day, another stabbing by an illegal migrant in Charlotte. What's going on in Charlotte? Democrats are destroying it like everything else, piece by piece. Your reaction?
My reaction is that I think the president has the opportunity to tweet about anything that's done. But for me, my reaction is, what do we do for this city? What do we do immediately for this city? I mean, you probably know our council is looking very hard at what we would do, and so I want to fulfill the idea of safety as a #1 initiative this year.
We talked about it briefly, but I just want to go back to Arena's law, enacted in the last few days, cracks down on suspects in violent crime. So far, in your view, has it been a net positive?
Well, it certainly was a net positive for the person that did what we had in the last few weeks or days, and it has worked in that respect. I hope that we'll not have to do that kind of work, but I think that we very much have to look at people for both criminal, how they live their lives, do they have opportunities, but we all know that mental health is an issue for a number of people in our city. I think that we will continue to think, how do we do this? But we're going to have to put more emphasis on, you must stop right now.
At the time, after her death, you said it was a tragic failure by the court and the magistrates. What's the remedy for that?
Well, the remedy, I think, has come a lot of this with the Arena law, saying that we now will have people on the trains. We move quickly to do that. I believe that in this situation, even the one that we're dealing with right now, we're going to press really hard on safety with our Justice Department, with our, I don't know if you're aware, we're right now having an initiative with multiple agencies that are safety agencies, so that people can go uptown, have a great time, go to see the Nutcracker and all of those things. And we're doing that because we've strengthened the process of other people joining us in this initiative to make sure that everybody feels safe and makes it possible for us to do this new work.
All right, guys, we'll have more for you in 2 minutes. A lot of live things happening right now, so we'll have more live coverage for you right here on WCNC Plus. See you in 2. Welcome back, everyone. Gene Simmons, along with others, are testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee on royalties for musicians and intellectual property. This is called Balancing the Interests of Local Radio Songwriters and Performers in the Digital Age. We're going to go to this right now. KISS singer Gene Simmons was just on the mic there giving testimony. I'm sure we'll see it here again.
That is no, they don't, because they're paying what you say is the rate. And the more listeners you have, the more they're going to pay you for that advertising. And the better music that you play that people actually want to hear, then the more you're going to be able to charge them. If we shut down all the music, you wouldn't have anything but a talk station. So I think we need to realize that. Also, you talked about being on the air for emergencies. The FCC requires you. They have that override when there is an emergency. You did not do that out of the goodness of your heart. You do that because you are mandated to do that, and thereby you provide that public service, and we appreciate that our radio stations do that. I would also remind you that when you talk about being a partnership between the artist and the radio stations, there is a new form of payola that is out there, and it's called having these artists do private shows for your advertisers, again, so that your worth is more to your advertisers. So indeed, it's kind of lopsided because they're making nothing and you're making millions of dollars. You and your son started this business not to be charity, but to make a profit and to serve your communities and to allow local radio. And for football games, you have advertisers. Again, you're providing a service, but you're being paid. The people that do not get paid are the performers. Mr. Simmons, let me come to you. You laid it.
Can I respond to any of that?
No, sir. It's my time.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. If we do a second round, I'll give you the opportunity to respond. Mr. Simmons, it's well past time to pass the American Music Fairness Act. I want you to very succinctly say, this is why we need to do it today.
We have to do it today because AI is right around the corner. This is an archaic injustice that's been around for a long time, and there's no reason why we should get in the middle of it. It's un-American. The basic premise of America is, pardon me for simplifying it, I was a 6th grade teacher, if you work hard, you should get paid.
Okay, let me ask you about something else. I go to church, and I live in a neighborhood in Nashville where we have a lot of session singers and musicians, background vocalists that are there. Talk about the significance to those artists of getting those pennies on the spin.
It's often, see, when you mentioned Elvis and Frank Sinatra and everything, we're talking big ideas because they've scratched and worked their way to the top. The new artists really need these pennies when they get heard as their career starts on radio, but there's no income. How do they get there? How do they claw their way up to the top with the help of radio? And again, I'm not here to demonize Mr. Hinton or the radio stations. We need each other. Performers need radio. Radio needs performers. But for God's sakes, equitable doesn't mean you get zero and radio makes $14 billion just this last year. That's not equitable. I know it's a big word like gymnasium, but come on, Hinton. Let's get with it. Let's become American.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my colleague Alex Padilla for this legislation. Appreciate all of you testifying today. Mr. Simmons, I want to ask you about the song Beth, but you're not here for that, so I'm not going to. What I would, and I love that song. I love all your songs. And thank you for bringing my Cusimano constituents with you. What I'd like to ask you, you've been obviously performing for quite a while. When you began your career, there was a kind of understanding that I think was the rationale for this injustice that, well, if radio stations are playing your music, you're getting advertising, more people are buying your albums. Obviously, the industry has completely changed, and the way people access music has completely changed. But if you could talk a little bit about how the industry has evolved and what it means today not to be compensated. That is, I would imagine whatever promotional value you get of your songs played on the radio doesn't somehow create enough recompense to make up for the lack of being paid for those songs being played on the radio.
Well, first and foremost, what you say is so. But I want to cut to the chase, which is when we first began, we were four knuckleheads off the streets of New York who could barely spell, read, or write. We just happened by ourselves. We never knew. No one. Artists are not qualified to understand the business model. We didn't have a business manager. I didn't know that once you get a song that goes on radio, radio is not going to pay you to play the song. But they will have the right, I will say this again, they have the right to use our name and likeness. And you're talking about trademarks. You use my trademark without my permission. Otherwise, I'm going to take your house and your firstborn. Are you kidding me? So radio uses billboards across the country's highways of America to promote the radio stations so that people will tune into their station because they are hearing our voice on their station so they can sell advertising. And more power to you. You should be making more money, become more successful, but the new artists are not going to get their fair shake. There are barely record companies left. The entire music industry is in disarray, and all these pennies are so important, especially for tomorrow's stars who are being born today. This is for our children and for our children's children. We can't just let them out in the cold and not have a way to get paid for their hard work.
Thank you. And Mr. Huppy, I know when your son was very young, he ran for school office with the theme song, Don't Worry, Be Huppy, which was brilliant, by the way.
That is correct.
When that song is played on a streaming service, you're able to identify where the royalties should go, and as the chair was saying, do so very rapidly, very quick order. Let's say that song is played on terrestrial radio. Are there any challenges to being able to determine when that's being played, providing the same kind of mechanism for compensation that you do with the streaming services?
The mechanics behind doing that, Senator, would not be that difficult at all. As you well know, we already receive much of the data about plays and artists and songs.
Guys, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll see you on the other side. Thanks for coming back with us, guys. We're going to go back to the Senate Judiciary Committee about royalties for musicians right now.
5% this year, 3.5% next year. So small market radio stations can't take any more fees. It's not 500, it's another 500 on top of everything else that we're paying. And I'll tell you, anybody that thinks $500 is a small chunk of change has never had to run a small market radio station.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hinton, you'd ask if you want to make a brief comment in response to Senator Blackburn's questions, you can. Then I've got questions for you.
Yes. You know, I'm a little bit surprised that radio is being demonized the way it is. I want to remind people that this ecosystem that we operate in has been working for both the radio industry and the music industry for 100 years.
As you're answering the question, can you give me a sense of what's different about Europe and the stressors that they have economically, and they're still achieving the reimbursement? What's different about the American terrestrial radio option and the European option where they seem to have resolved this issue?
Well, the first thing I would say to you is that radio stations in America are free, and we're part of a free market system. If you go to European countries and some of the countries that have been mentioned, radio stations are owned by the government. The relationship between the music industry and the radio industry has been fantastic, and it's worked beautifully for the years. You know, it's been said that the promotional angle that radio station provides to the recording industry is not there anymore. It's not important. If you allow me, I just want to read something that I received from a good friend of mine, Mike Biddle, who is the program director. He used to be my program director. He's now program director at WQDR in Raleigh, which is one of the legendary country music stations. I asked Mike last week, Mike, tell me what kind of contact you get on a week-to-week basis with the recording industry and music labels. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read a couple of lines from that email. 16, exclamation point. That's the number of record label representatives I've communicated with over the past 5 days. 4 of them are at the vice president level or higher. The reason? They want airplay from our radio stations. Based on the ratings research provided by Nielsen and Eastland, and I've done the math, our radio station alone can match the exposure of an artist a song gets with 30,000 streams in 1 week with just a handful of spins in primetime listening. And one other thing I'd like to respond to is the issue that Senator Blackburn brought up regarding her letter to the chairman of the FCC for payola. First and foremost, I would say, in my experience, and I've been in this business a long time, Senator, I have never, my experience has been exactly the opposite of what you are describing. It's normally artists coming to radio stations wanting us to provide promotion for something that they're promoting with a relief concert or something. Just like happened with us after Hurricane Matthew, the Avett brothers came to us and said, will you help us promote a hurricane relief concert, which we did and raised $365,000. I can tell you this, that we take the issue of payola very seriously. NAB has a policy. We all follow it. We are very serious about following payola and not breaking any federal laws, especially that one.
Last question for you, or from me. Have you modeled what the economic impact would be on your stations, or has NAB done any modeling on what the economic impact would be on various stations if this bill is ratified?
Well, let me start with this, Senator. The radio industry is free over the air. When we hear about these other streaming services that are paying performers' rights, remember this, they can pass their fees on to
I get that. But I'm trying to get at is the economic impact. And what stimulated, this isn't from my staff notes.
Well, again, you and I have had this conversation before. What I think we should be advocating for is for Congress to take a look at the entire ecosystem.
Well, I got you.
All PROs.
But I'm just trying to get back to the NAB in particular. I wouldn't expect you and your radio station to have done some modeling about what the impact would be.
You're asking me for a percentage of how it would impact us?
I'm trying to get, we've already, there's a stipulation that some of the smaller market or college radio stations be either $100 or $500 impact. So I'm trying to get that's not a lot. It would have a de minimis impact in terms of performers' compensation. I'm just trying to get a sense of what this would represent to a radio station like yours that would not necessarily enjoy the carve-out or the exemption, roughly what it's going to cost. And I would assume you can just do a look back
I
and
honestly
determine.
don't know the answer to that question. It's going to be on a per-station basis.
I think it'd be helpful, as we move forward to get, it would seem to me it'd be deterministic. You look back 12 months, look at what you played, and then determine if the law would pass, what it would be. But I think that'd be helpful for the record.
Well,
Mr. Huppy, do you have any insight on well, here's the other thing when I'm talking with the NAB. They talk about bad actors. I'm not going to name three-letter players in this industry, but they talk about some other folks who are constantly breathing down the broadcasters' back. Are you sympathetic to any of that with some of the music distributors and the way that they're treated? Yours is a very different model, but I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, we're not in the radio promotion business, so I'm not as familiar with that, Mr. Chairman. I will say, in terms to answer to your last question, you asked about sort of modeling out. I will say, again, I share the respect for Mr. Hinton and the amazing network that he's built out, but 4 of his 5 stations would be eligible for the $500 a year carve-out. And the other comment, if I could, Mr. Chairman, there's a lot of talk about promotion here. The bill takes into account any promotion effect. If there truly is promotion, then I would suggest the broadcasters can put their money where their mouth is and recognize it will be a factor expressly considered by the people that set the rates for this. We could debate whether there's promotion or not. I mean, as you heard earlier, 85% of all revenue comes from streaming. I think you've heard Mr. Hinton say twice that they compete with those streaming platforms now. It's no longer about promotion, it's about competing. And one last point, Mr. Chairman, let's say there is promotion, hypothetically. I don't know why that should be a free ticket to take people's property with neither permission nor payment. Radio broadcasts Major League Baseball games. It is undoubtable that that increases the promotion for baseball. It raises the value of the franchise. And no one for a minute would suspect or suggest that they don't get licensed by Major League Baseball. I don't know why music should be any different.
Thank you. My time is over. Before I recognize Senator Padilla, I think Beth was a good song. It was Peter Criss who sang leads, the drummer. Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all the witnesses for your participation today. I do want to begin with questions for Mr. Simmons, and I especially appreciate you because you're not just here advocating for your own self-interest, you're advocating for all artists.
No, I think that's not the headline. The headline is, I've done well thanks to the American dream, and I often say, God bless America, and people think I say it for a soundbite. I'm the proud son of a concentration camp survivor, and for me, those words mean something, and we should all get over the cornball, eye-raising things and realize where we're living. This ain't about me, my friend. Because I've done very well because America gave a first-generation legal immigrant the chance to do well, and it was not easy. I had to learn the language. I had to stop talking like this, dress British, think Yiddish. You know what I mean. You had to learn the culture, claw my way up to the top with 3 other guys that understood it, with no managers, no nothing. Do it the old-fashioned way. Roll up your sleeves. America's giving you the chance. The rest is up to you. It's not about me. I'm on top of Mount Olympus. As I said before, I was thinking of buying the